Some nights I like that. 6.
They didn't grab tissues, you know.
We're here. Eric, y'all ready? Sure. Dawn, you good?
Yes, sir.
Childress, you good?
Let's rock and roll.
Ms. Ligon?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to the April school board meeting. Dr. Wells, is there anything you need to open with? Yes, sir. Okay. So if we could stand for a moment of silence and pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, board. We have an agenda. Can I get a motion?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second?
All in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Dr. Wells.
All right, students of the month.
Okay.
Okay, we'll make sure I was on.
Make sure you do that.
All right, so we have our staff, our students of the month for February and March. And so when I call your name, please come forward. And you'll stand up here. We start at the high school and work our way down so that if you're from the high school, you get to stay up here the whole time. But instead of reading all, since we have a large group tonight and 2 months worth, I'm just going to hit some of the high points from each student as we go through it, then I'll call your name, okay? So Noah Goff. Noah's not here, but Noah's a 12th grader. He was recommended because he works hard to make life easier for everyone and is always cheerful and positive and always willing to serve others. We have Anna Mae Wright. Anna Mae? Stand up here. And you get to stay here to the elementary kids, too. You're lucky. The reason she was nominated because she is pleasant, polite, cooperative, and hardworking, and she interacts well with her classmates, and her smile is wonderful and brings great joy to the staff. All right. Landry Falls from Amherst Middle. Okay? Not here. Candace Lloyd, Manelson Middle School. And Candace was nominated because she is helpful to all of her classmates and teachers, and she works hard in areas and always does her best. Congratulations. Tatiana Green, Amelon. Not here? All right. Liam Burks, Amherst Elementary, not here. Lacey Pugh, Central. I know we have a few that aren't here tonight. Griffin Merritt, Elon.
Looking sharp. That jacket.
All right, Griffin was selected because he is thoughtful, works hard each day, is an example for others, and he is an Eagle ambassador and full of ideas to help the school. Congratulations. Ava Brogan, Madison Heights. And Carlina Eagle from Temperance. And Carlina was selected because she's thoughtful, trustworthy, and a team player. She is a dedicated student, and she has solid grades, and she's always willing to lend a hand without being asked. Congratulations. So those were our students for February, and we're going to take a picture with them real quick. And parents, you can take pictures also if you want, and you'll get a certificate with the picture once we get that done. Come on, slide to the middle.
She won't let you. I know she won't. the room. Call.
So again, the reason we had February and March, February was because we were out of school so much, and we were trying to get caught up back between January and March, that we were trying to get 2 months at a time. So I apologize we couldn't do those last month, but we were trying to get December and January last month because of all the weather and had to miss and all the stuff going on there. All right. So now we have March, and we have from Amherst County High School, Leah Mulhern. Outstanding student and a great citizen, involved in several extracurricular activities, including the goalie on the soccer team, has perfect attendance, and straight A's for the year. Great job. AEC, Kristen Ellis. Okay. Amherst Middle School, Abigail Etter. Abigail? And Abigail also has straight A's, represents AMS as being respectful, responsible, and resilient, and is always positive. Congratulations. Manelson Middle, Taylor Kane. Not with us tonight. Amelon Veda Rodriguez. Okay. Amherst Elementary, McKinley Hurt. And McKinley was kind and respectful towards her peers and teachers, stays focused in class, and is responsible with her assignments. Congratulations. Central, we have Carter Crago. So Carter was recommended because she comes to school each and every day. She's a good human, and she is consistently positive even when things are difficult. She makes her peers feel good about themselves and cheers on each and every person. Congratulations. Elizabeth Barker, Elin. She was nominated because she's a hard worker. She meets the goals she has set for herself, and she is kind and a good role model for younger students as well. She is a soaring eagle. Congratulations. Malia Milstead, Madison Heights. Nope. Okay. Aaliyah Spivey, Temperance. She is a fantastic classmate and always displays the temperance qualities of trustworthy, thoughtful, and being a team player. They can count on her to do the right thing and put forth her best efforts. Congratulations. And those are our students for March. That's all signed. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you. So for our staff, instead of reading all the accolades for staff, I'm just going to make some general comments. You know, our staff for the month, they're role models for other staff members and our students. They exemplify what a team means to be a team player and a leader in our buildings. And again, we're just grateful for all they do for our students and for our schools and for our community every day. So for our staff of month, I want to say thank you for all you do for us and for your students. And we look forward to ending out the year on a very positive note. So let's go to February. And February staff from the high school was Kelsey Saunders. I know she's got to play tonight. AEC was Kenneth Baker. Mr. Baker. All right. Amherst Middle School, Lisa Lobb. Thank you. Just stand up here for a picture. You like the kids. Manellison, Christy Tyree. Amelon, Chase Overholzer. Amherst Elementary, you might be just you by yourself tonight. Amherst Elementary, Lauren Higgins. Central, Gina Cockerham. Elin, Jennifer Morcom. Madison Heights, Aubrey Zeeland. Temperance, Lauren Balint. From Transportation, Shirley Beckley. Not here. And from School Administration Office, Tiffany Burton. And Tiffany's not here either. All right. That's that list. Let's get a quick photo. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. For March, from the high school, Miss Erin Calhoun. From AEC, Mr. Bruce Turner. Amherst Middle School, Jennifer Fitzgerald. From Manelson Middle School, Stephanie Crystal. I'm sorry, you got two of them. I'm looking down the street. Stephanie Fauerherd and Crystal Mays, we have two this month. I'm sorry. I'm just reading right under the other. All right. Amelon, Kristen Walker. Amherst Elementary, Cassie Mayhew. Central, Shayna West. Not here this evening? Okay. Elin Elementary, Tammy McCrae. Okay. Madison Heights, Margaret Piper. Temperance Elementary, Heidi Woodson. Transportation, Morgan Dodson. And from School Administration Office, Mr. Shannon Presnell. That's why I just read it. Guess I don't want to say.
You know?
Anybody show up?
Board member.
On her way.
No, not that one. Wait, she's got to run to.
There's only one other.
I don't think she's gonna make it back. She'll have time. Let's
Is she traveling? I think he's talking about Mr. Porter, right?
It happens.
well with them, that's all.
Okay.
I thought he was traveling.
I saw him last week.
All right.
Literally across the street.
Moving on, Dr. Wells, we're going to move on to 3.0, public comment. We had one person sign up to speak tonight. Ms. Beverly Jones, would you step forward, please? Thank you, ma'am. State your name, address, voting district, something like that.
Good evening, Beverly Jones, District 5. During your March 9th school board meeting, Mr. Childress expressed concern about some teachers leaving the county and about perceived lack of motivation among many of them who remain. And I understand that concern. So let's examine some of the reasons. The demand for data collection is excessive and time-consuming. All the data collection in the world cannot accurately measure the heartbreak that goes into a single day of teaching children whose needs go beyond the classroom. Good teachers love and respect their students. They know that children need extended beyond what can be dealt with in the school. Number 2, analyzing and compiling data collection does not help at all. State, local mandated data collection cannot be avoided, but the school board can avoid adding to this burden. Number 3, another issue that needs to be addressed is planning time for teachers. Planning time appears on paper, but in reality is often interfered with. Teachers have to cover classes when substitutes are not available. They have to attend PLC meetings twice a week. Where is the time to build relationships with coworkers and work to create a teaching strategy? Why are experienced teachers required to submit lesson plans each week? It is time-consuming, it exhibits a lack of trust, and creates paperwork that no administrator really has time to read. Motivation was another issue. Schools need an inviting environment where teachers can express their concerns without fear and feel invited to do so. Give teachers the gift of time and listen to their ideas. Unburden them whenever you can. Please. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so we had no one else signed up to speak. Is anyone from the audience who would like to approach the? Yes, ma'am, please step forward. Just state your name, address, or voting district, please. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Jackie Bibby. I live in District 4, and I'm a retired teacher. And I want to address the dress policy for teachers. When I look back on my career, that was in the early days. I remember when I first got out of college and walked into the classroom, female teachers were asked, to dress. Heels, stockings, suits, and we call them dress-up dresses. Definitely no pants. But times have changed. Gradually, we graduated and we were allowed to wear pantsuits and gradually individual pants. Perfectly acceptable for women and more casual than the dress-up styles. But today, we look at today, we look at the students. If you're not in a school where uniforms are required, there's a lax attitude of dress. You have variety of shorts, short tight skirts, raggedy jeans, and low-cut revealing tops. Even some come in wearing pajama bottoms. So this not only can apply to the students, sometimes it even applies to some of your teachers. I think, we can agree that we expect students as well as teachers to maintain a reasonable dress code. And if you're talking about mandating a dress code or having a dress code for a county, it varies from county to county, from school to school. It's not a one-thing-fit-all policy. Then again, when you look in the schools, you can see that when you have different teaching assignments, that you should dress differently, especially like PE or an art class. So let's look at one of the issues that's on hand today. Should teachers wear jeans? Now, why should teachers be allowed to wear jeans in the classroom? Is it only because they can only wear them on certain days? Or should they wear them when they wear the school T-shirt? Or should they have to pay for the privilege of putting on a pair of jeans? What's the issue? Is it the jeans themselves? Is it because jeans were once associated with physical jobs that required clothing to stand up to the rough use? Basically, was it for the laboring class, not the professional class? Now, that was at one time. But I look at jeans today. Today, some of your jeans will cost as much as a regular dress pants. So why not wear jeans? Will the jeans affect your teacher's teaching ability? Would it affect the classroom management? Would it affect the child's learning? Or will it create a behavior problems? So we know that no teacher should come in the classroom looking like he or she just rolled out of the bed and just put on anything, tattered hose, whatever. We know that. There's no argument about that. But we do know that in some instances, your instructor's appearance makes a big difference in the classroom. But however, it doesn't affect the knowledge of the teacher. It doesn't affect the training, the experience, or whatever. So I wonder why the school board have to sort this out. We have capable administrators in the school system. There are some huge issues that you have to confront now, such as cutting of funds, achievement gap, reading and math scores, politics, excessive school book banning, lack of minority teachers, on and on and on. So let's not get bogged down in the small things. So if we're going to resolve this, I think we need to look at the teacher's salary. Some teachers have to work 2 jobs to maintain their families. So if they can wear a pair of jeans that's decent and durable, so be it. We have teachers in the classroom who spend extra personal funds for classroom items that may not be provided for the system. I know when I worked, I spent more money for my students than sometimes I spend for my own children.
Maybe can you?
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so if jeans are to be worn, don't nickel and dime the teacher with privileges. Just say, you may wear jeans. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else from the audience? Okay, please step forward. Name, address, or voting district, please.
Good evening, school board. Sam Soger, District 2 parent. Thanks for letting me address with you tonight. the recent attempt to end our membership in the Virginia School Board Association. In last month's meeting, it was suggested that we could save $16,000 by exiting from our membership. Meanwhile, there's a $1.2 million budget shortfall that the Board of Supervisors says it can't cover. So I don't really see sort of like the 16,000 about the Virginia School Board Association seems sort of like there's something else going on here. And I think that's what it is. I think there's been an attempt, a push to get us out of the VSBA for years now. I believe this is an organized attack on public education. I don't know where your loyalties lie, but you could understand if I suspected that you would prefer my tax dollars to go towards homeschool or private school. And I don't have the ability to send my kid to private or homeschool, and certainly most other families couldn't do that either. We rely on public education. The school board has spent so much time carrying on about policies that aim to help marginalized students. Why does this bother you? Please help us understand. Meanwhile, high school seniors are struggling to read and write. This is the chief concern. It's the only thing that the majority of parents want you to concern yourselves with. To fix this, we need more teachers, smaller class sizes, more reading and math specialists, incentives to retain teachers, and you know this. But instead, we're subjected month after month to this time wasting, this poring over the policy handbook. Librarians are being put upon by school board members, while meanwhile, the students are in general struggling to read, so don't worry about what books are in the library. I mean, they're not going to read them, is the issue. So I don't see this school board fighting for Amherst children. I see them fighting for a national political agenda. We need common sense from our school board. Peace and love, y'all.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else from the audience like to approach the school board? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to 4.0, consent agenda. Board, have you had a chance to look at the items in the consent agenda? Oh, Mr. Thompson, welcome.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question for the superintendent on the superintendent's actions. There were a couple stipends in there. Do those align with what we had discussed at the last budget meeting?
Regarding, I'm sorry.
You had a couple of stipends that you were adding. Or did I misread that? Under professional stipends, there were two there.
Trying to get there. Get to the right sheet there, sir, I'm sorry. Which? One's Title 6B, which is, and then one is for the coach. Those are things we always have.
Yeah, I'm not asking why we did them. I'm asking the monetary value, the amount.
Yes.
Does it align
Yes.
with what we had said we were going to do at the last budget
Yes, sir.
meeting?
Yeah.
That was all my question.
Just
Thank you.
making sure. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Not questioning why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
okay, we have a motion?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Dr. Wells. 5.0.
Student reps. And I know Denasia has a tennis match tonight, so she is not with us. So Mr. Carver has That's both topics tonight.
Yes, sir. She's covering for me from last month when I had a soccer match, but we're proud of our sports too and represent the high school well. The spring sports, including like guys soccer, girls soccer, both I see every day because I'm on the guys soccer and the girls soccer practices right across from us. Baseball and softball, we're always proud of them, and they do well, as well as outdoor track and tennis, which is what Denasia does. So I'm going to try to cover what she usually does, but I will admit she is a lot better when it comes to band and theater and the arts, if you will. But that is a big thing that's happening right now is our play, Guys and Dolls. It's the final one in this old auditorium. So it's a big deal, and a lot of people are trying to go to this. They're doing $12 a ticket. Obviously, you can't go tonight, but the next 2 nights they'll have another play, and you can pay at the gate if you would like to do that. We are entering exam season, which you guys know. You've been around the school system, and it's hard, of course, but I think a lot of students are seeing this as the finish line and that we can see that. So we're excited for that and just the opportunity that we get to take the exams. 'Cause I know they cost money and different things, and we've been preparing, so we're just expectant for this season. As far as some senior things we've done for our 12th graders, we've had 2 different senior breakfasts, I believe, since the last meeting. The March one, they did like an ice cream bar. I don't know if Denasia talked about that last month, which was exciting. You know, you get your ice cream and just go down the line. Just a fun little switching up from the typical breakfast foods. And then we had IHOP this past week, and that was as well as when we took our senior class picture with our gowns and everybody lined up. So the finish line is definitely visible, and we're excited for that as we move forward. With this season, we also have a couple ceremonies. The Golden A ceremony, which is going to be May 23rd, where we honor students, but as well as profound educators, where each student can choose somebody who really left a footprint on their academic career and help them get to where they are. And I think that's just a sweet kind of giving back moment. Another ceremony we have is the Golden Tassel ceremony. This is for NHS seniors. So students who have excelled in the classroom but also excelled in the community, getting their hours of service and doing it cheerfully. And so they get honored with a little yellow cord that they'll wear on their cap on graduation day. Another senior event, because there's only so many more days. Dr. Crawford always tells us, like, it's gonna go by and there's gonna be very little chance that you're gonna be with all these people at the same time again. And so April 27th, we have a senior social, which is 12th graders, just a fellowship thing. I think we have a soda cart, so I think it's gonna be something like that. Not exactly a dance, but sort of just a fellowship moment. For the seniors, there's also gonna be a senior sunset coming up, but the date is to be determined. Hopefully some good weather coming up for that. This is one thing that Denasia would be way better at explaining than me, but May 5th, there's a band concert. I believe they plan all year for this, so it's a big deal, and I know I have people in the band in some of my classes, and they're expecting excited for that. And then May 6th is the spring concert. So I believe this is different than the band concert in that they're singing as well. So our Amber Echoes and Bells and all the chorus classes work super hard. And I know Denasia always talks about all the different things they win, and we're super proud of them. So they'll get to perform for Amherst and not for these big competitions out in Richmond and whatnot on May 6th. And I think the band is their music, and then they're dancing and singing and showing off all their talents. And then show choir finale night is May 13th. As you can tell, this is more things Denasia knows very well, and so I'm doing my best here, but this is going to be more Amber Echoes and Bells, and so they're going to sing and perform, and I know several seniors that are members of this, and so we're proud of them and helping them finish strong and just cheering them on to the finish line. And then May 14th is going to be senior award night. Just another date in the future that we're looking forward to as we're getting closer to the end. And something I was super excited about is the Day of Giving tomorrow. This is one of my favorites events that we do at the high school. It's incredible because multiple students get involved, and it's for a good cause. It's not like people are upset, that they get to give back. Everybody's getting connected. And we do this all year with the football team going to the elementary schools or the cheer team. But this is the event where a majority of the school, all the students are going out and giving back to the community. So it's another moment for fellowship and just loving on each other and serving each other. And I think that's something we're getting to do very well. So I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And by the way, you're 44 calendar days. I know you probably haven't known the school days left, but it's 44 days on the calendar to graduate.
We're excited. We're excited.
How many school days do you
I believe it is, for seniors, we have less. So
Yeah.
I think we're in the 20s now,
Yeah.
actually. So
Getting close.
We're excited for that.
Be here before you know it.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yep. Board, anything for Mr. Carver while he's here? Well, I couldn't hardly keep up with all the little things you had listed going on, try to put them on the calendar. That is a lot of little items there.
If I didn't have the dates down, they
I'm
would also
sure.
be on
I'm
me.
sure.
so.
Thank you very much, though.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're at 6? Yeah, 6.0. Discussion item?
Superintendent goals?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So, board, I would propose that we can find a day where we can get together and discuss those. It's 5 pages of items there, and I don't think it's something that we'll be able to get through tonight. I think it's a good starting point. There's some things we need to add, some things we need to take away, some things we need to polish. And so if it's the board's privy, I'd like to see Dr. Wells or Ms. McNarney send out something to find us a day where we can get together and do that. I'm up for other discussion, but I don't think this is something we'll be able to get through tonight and still have a productive board meeting. So, any other discussion?
Mr. Terry.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important for the board to get this ironed out and to go through and understand what our expectations are for a superintendent of schools. And I think a session with everybody bringing their ideas forward would be something that would give us a chance to maybe talk to some other staff, faculty, and maybe come up with some ideas there also. So kind of like that idea of setting up a date because it does impact everybody, stakeholders.
That's right. Yes, sir. Okay. I think you're live, Ms. Thompson, if you're looking for that.
Yeah. Mr. Terry?
Yes, ma'am.
I would just tend to agree. I'm very appreciative of the start of getting these together. I think they're very noteworthy. But I did have some ideas about maybe some we could combine and, like you said, add. I think that's a great suggestion. I would like to request that we do it in a timely manner because I know it's important to get this rolling because school's going to be over and the new school year is just around the corner. Did I say that?
Yes.
So I think it would be.
If I may, last month you asked me to bring you recommendations regarding VSBA and also recommendations on legal counsel. So what we could do is find a day in May we could cover all 3 of those at one time. And I'd be glad, we can sit some time one afternoon on a Saturday possibly, so you don't have to take off from work. And because some of y'all are, Mr. Childress, as far as being out of town and things during the week and so forth. So maybe we could do a Saturday. It's up to you as a board. But we can give you some potential dates, but I would say a day in May that we can get together and we can cover all 3 of those at once.
So I'd have to make a recommendation. If we did it in May, it would have to be early in May or late in April due to the fact that we're hitting graduation season. And I know of several of us who have multiple graduations to attend.
Yeah.
So that's, if we could, I know.
I'll give up a day of the week, but because I'm going to be here either way, so whatever suits you, but I'm fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, what about the possibility of maybe doing it after discipline on a Thursday?
I'm game to do that. I'm up to the rest of the board.
How about we send you some possible weekdays and some
Yeah.
possible weekends, and y'all can pick what suits you, and then we'll go from there. Is that fair?
Yeah, please do that.
Okay.
Okay, good. Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say that, I was the one that put this on the agenda, asked for this to be on the agenda. I feel it's extremely important for us as a board to set these goals. We failed to do it last year as a board, and you work at what you're looking at, right, what you're monitoring. And, we have all these things where we're monitoring our kids, looking at their performance. I think that's our responsibility that we need to be doing as well. And so that's why, I came up with the list that we see here, and would love to have a long conversation around it to get some good goals. We have a great school system and leadership and great students, and I just think we need to make sure that we are looking at the right things, and that way our superintendent can know what he needs to be focusing on. And I think that's the sense of urgency that we have, is that we certainly want to get this taken care of, I would say before June, so that as he's making decisions on who he's going to hire, we're going to give him some direction on where we think this school system needs to go based on these goals that we're going to help him to set. So,
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just want to say, Mr. Childress and Mr. Terry, I really appreciate it being brought up, and the document that we can discuss, and I heartily agree with meeting at a separate time in a timely manner.
Okay, so Dr. Wells, you and Ms. McNerney work together? Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
7 point.
So next we have 7 administrative, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Hoden.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, this last few weeks has been very interesting. It seems like every day we have multiple things happening between the library, the cafeteria, the field house, and other items. So Mr. Rokes and I have been working to kind of pull everything together, and I'll turn it over to him for a few minutes so he can see some of the new things that are happening. And again, every day is a lot going on. So, Mr. Rokes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mr. Carver was talking earlier about the excitement of reaching the goal line of graduation, those type of things. We're reaching the goal line here too as far as graduation. Divert for just a second when we talk about graduation. Sitting back here and looking back and seeing 3 of my instructors when I came through Amherst County Schools just a few days ago. Miss Bibby was a 2nd grade teacher, and Miss Jones was in middle school, and Miss Flynn was there too. And so anyway, it's great seeing them and seeing where I am today as a result of what they did many years ago, and they put up with me. So God bless them. Anyway, back to the subject on hand here. As Dr. Hoden mentioned, progress is changing daily at a rapid speed now. The glass is in front of here, the new atrium going into the main entrance of the building. You also see, if you look a little bit at the ground here, a lot of disturbance there. They're also working on the finished elevation in front of the school, getting ready for the parking lot. Actually, today they start laying out the curb and guttering on the side of Lance Lane right there, and that was this afternoon as well. So progressing on that. This is back in early March, setting the last HVAC unit on the new addition that goes over top the entranceway, which handles the cafeteria. The new cafeteria is where that unit will be running. They've got that all piped in and all the vent work done as well. This is the new, the beginning structure of the seats for the auditorium, the bleacher style seats, if you will. And this is the steel frame that the rows sit on. And also looking down, so right there I'm standing in the main street looking down to the outside of the building toward the parking lot, and you see the structures all the way down through there. That area will be storage for, theater, whatever it may be back there. It'll be a storage area as well, and that will be complete shortly. These are new bleacher style seats. TJ Distributors out of Richmond started installing these about 3 weeks ago. The bleacher styles are almost complete. There are 660 seats in these seats right here along the bleachers. The top 4 rows that you see underneath that metal structure, they are permanent fixed seats. The rest of the rows, whatever it is, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them, they all slide back like a bleacher in the gym, and they slide back, so there'll be a flat wall back there with seats, and then you'll have a flat space to do various different events on as well. And the picture on the left is just the framework when they start putting those in, the wood and the frames and structures themselves. Sort of hard to see, but anyway, that's what it looks like in there now, with all 660 seats in there. Still putting some finishes touches such as handrails and those type of things. And then once that's complete, then we'll come into the bottom part in the pit area, if you will. They've got to clean the floor, and then they'll start putting the bleacher style seat. Putting the regular auditorium seats in the lower section in the front part of the auditorium, and that'll be happening in the next week or so. This is standing up on the seats looking toward the stage itself. A couple of things in this picture. You'll see up in the top, you'll see squares there, about 8-foot squares all across there. 54 of these throughout the ceiling. They're sound rectangles, and basically helps the sound throughout the auditorium. And they've installed all those, as well as the sprinkler systems in those. And then they've also been painted. This is a picture of about a week or so ago. They've all been painted now, and that part is complete. You look up on the stage, some of the fire-rated plyboard up on the stage, and the stage itself, and of course the finishing touches have got to be put on that as well. This is the epoxy floor in all the bathrooms, and this is also included in the bathrooms out in the field house, and in the main bathroom, and the bathroom in the theater changing room, and the family bathrooms on the main hallway. Very scientific process. The picture on the left is the flakes, what they call, of the epoxy that comes in. You basically have two components. You have the main base, which is the gray, white, light gray, and those type of things. And then we had a bag of burgundy. So instead of spending a few extra $1,000s and waiting weeks on end, we did a very scientific approach. One afternoon, we met at the high school, Dr. Hoden, Dr. Wells, Ms. McNary, and myself. We took a couple handfuls of the gray. We took a handful of the burgundy. We put it in a plastic bag. We shake, and we said, yeah, we like this, or we need to add this, add anything more. That's what we came up with. That weekend, they installed it. Very scientific process. These are the new bathrooms. You've seen pictures along the way of what I've shown you as construction's been going on. This week, they started installing the stalls in the bathroom itself, as well as the sinks. The sinks on the left, there are 16 sinks, 16 toilets in there. These sinks right here, I'm sitting in front of the stalls looking out toward the construction area. There we'll have all the fixtures and those put on shortly. They actually put another layer of CMU or cinder block on top of that today, so we can have our soap dispensers as well. And then the picture on the right is what we've always been talking about for the last year and a half, is these single stalls. The safety concerns about having the open concept in the bathrooms, where teachers can see into the main part of the bathroom. The stalls are all floor to ceiling. They all have the individual lights, smoke detectors, fire alarms, and those type of things in each stall. This is one of the handicap stalls. It's not. We also have our wheelchair accessible stalls, handicap stalls also on both sides. So this is just one of the handicap stalls I took a picture of, and just another angle of the front doors. Obviously, this work is not complete yet, but they're still working on this. This is the theater room. You'll notice in that picture on the left, they also this week actually 2 days ago, started installing the bulletin boards and those type things in the room. So again, we're approaching the finish line. The picture on the right is the main street, and this is looking up near the very bottom of the picture. That light part you see is the hallway going to the classrooms, and you'll notice that the grid system has been put in for the ceiling lights. And I think there's like 46 can lights all the way down through the whole hallway. There's 7 sets of these grid systems in there. And again, it'll be a cloud system where you have openings up into the ceiling itself. The ceiling has been painted. And so that's progressing as well. So hopefully we'll have main lights in the hallway very shortly. Another thing they've done is actually broke through the gym wall down there. Took about 2 days to break through that. And they've also have gone back. The picture on the right is actually standing in the old gym hallway behind a construction wall, where they land the new block up to put a support beam lintel in there to support the new entranceway into that hallway, tying the old building and the new building together. Picture on the left is the main entrance looking from the parking lot into the main entrance, and basically it's just showing the drywall that's going up in the cafeteria, and same thing on the right. That ceiling in there will be painted white. The rest of the ceilings in the cafeteria on the left and right side will be painted black as well to help hide some of the mechanical equipment in the ceiling. As I mentioned earlier, they started working on the parking lot. The picture on the left is the drain pipes coming in, all the roof leaders tying in, coming around the cafeteria. And they're starting to, like I said, the curbing on that side of the parking lot as well. As we move on to the field house, these are the sewer line tied and down into the woods. The picture on the left is the first pipe they laid in, tied into the existing main going into the town sewer. And the picture on the right is actually right behind the field house. There's about 900 foot of sewer pipe going all the way down the hill. The water line is complete as well. They just got to make some connections inside. They also have run the electrical line from the transformer, or done the conduit from the transformer to the building. And we'll be pulling that wire and then waiting for APCO to come in to make those connections here, hopefully very shortly. Also in the field house, you can see the burgundy, the bottom part of the wall has been painted burgundy, and that one wall is the center wall between the open part of the field house and into the locker rooms, and we decided to go ahead and paint that a dark gray as well, and again, that's progressing. The bathroom facility structure fixtures have been put in, and again, awaiting the stall walls as well on those back there. This is in one of the locker rooms or changing rooms, if you will, the water fountains and the sinks. Both of those can complete. And again, continuing installation of seats, finished installation of glass. Everything on the back end of the glass is, in addition, has been added in, except the storefront, the main entrance is not done yet. Construction of the parking lot. And basically, hopefully by the time we come next month, we'll be very close to the completed project, or this part of the project, rather. So any questions?
Board, any questions for Mr. Oakes? You see the finish line too, sir, right?
I don't know. Somebody keeps moving that bad boy.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. We'll
yeah.
get there. Patience.
It'll get there. We've had a few hurdles this week, but we've been rolling through there pretty quickly. Next, just wanted to let you know, we had talked about last month, there's a construction grant out there for $1 million. We, at this point in time, will not be applying for that due to funding, and also we don't have a project that exceeds $1 million right now with everything we've got going on. So we're going to have to pass on that this year. But we will keep looking at other grants, and I know in the near future we'll have many other things to tackle. So we'll move on from there. Next, the Verizon Tower, just want to give you a quick update on that. I did receive a projected contract. However, we're in the discussions with our attorneys, and also I am talking to a special representative trying to get to review that before I bring it back. You had asked me to try to attain every possible fund from that, including if they add to the tower. So we're looking at the wording on that, and I have a special rep that's trying to help me with that, and I'll get that back to you as soon as we have those numbers. Questions on that?
Board, any questions?
Yeah, yes,
ma'am.
Mr. Terry. So when the contract comes back, that's not the point that we would be voting on it, right? That's just for us to,
It'll be just next steps. If you agree to that, then we would proceed with the hearing, and then we'd let them do the balloon test at Manelson, and then, yeah. So that would be where you would go on to the next step or not.
okay. So how would we get public feedback on that before we sign a contract?
You could have a public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Something that's not on the agenda, just wanted to talk to you about real quick. Dr. Wells and I met with Kim Klein and DOE rep this morning. We had this week, we've had, seems like this year, many federal reviews, and this was the exit interview for the federal monitoring for our cafeteria, and things went really well with that. There were a few suggestions for finance. One of the things that we do have to come back to, though, is we had changed the policy for the wellness policy, and when we changed that policy, it went against state regs, so we have to bring that back to you, and we'll have to change it back.
So we will bring you more information on that in the near future. We're waiting on the letter from them with the follow-up on that. So once we get the letter from them as far as what the needs are, what the findings are, then we'll bring that to you. But we know there's going to be a finding. So once we get that letter, then we'll come back to you and try to have a session on how to clean up, and I'll make recommendations regarding the policy.
It dealt with the concessions, and the wording that we put in there has to be back to the way it was. Ours kind of suggested that we could have concessions at any time, so we just have to clean up that wording.
It'll be a very
One of the things I do want to read to you, though, this is the last part, and this is the commendations, and I just wanted to shout this out. So I'm going to read this from the letter from the rep. It said, the Amherst County Public Schools triennial assessment was very thorough and identified areas for improvement. The division set excellent goals for the next triennial cycle, seeking to increase staff wellness initiatives, creating new partnerships, and fully implementing a wellness policy. We commend Amherst for promoting scratch cooking and utilizing local products when available. Kim and her staff reviewed schools, were very friendly, answered questions, and provided documentation as requested. The staff were very well attuned to the students and their needs, providing great customer service. All school and staff were friendly and helpful. So that was accommodations at the end, and I just wanted you to know that Ms. Klein and her staff did an excellent job during this time. And as always, they always find a few things for us to improve on. Questions on that?
Board, any questions? Okay, thank you, Dr. Hoden.
Yes, sir. All right, next you have in front of you several policies for first read.
Amber's got to do the website first.
Oh, that's right, I skipped over you, Amber, I'm sorry.
So we have an update on the website from Ms. Malika. Amber?
I was going right through my stuff. Sorry.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just a few minutes this evening to give you an update on where we are with the new website. We have signed an agreement with Parent Square. That is the provider that we're going to be going with their Smart Sites website. And I'm happy to report that the initial build is done, not only for the division, but also for the 10 school sites. So what we have here, I'm going to go through a couple of sites just to show you some highlights, and then I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. I think this website platform is definitely more modern and more user-friendly than what we have had in the past. It has been designed to be more user-friendly and more intuitive to help our families and our communities find information quickly and more easily. There is also a lot of consistency between the division site and the 10 school sites. So once our families get used to one site, it doesn't matter what level their kids are at or which school site they visit, they're going to be familiar and be able to navigate to find the information that they need. And recruitment and retention is a goal on all sites where we are constantly recruiting new staff. So, this is going to be the board member page. Before your May school board meeting, I ask you guys to please come dressed with smiles because I do need to get new headshots so that we can put updated pictures. And I know one question, Mr. Childress, that you had with regards to protecting our employees and ensuring that we don't have phishing. One of the things we have been able to do is to use the buttons everywhere to hide email addresses to reduce the phishing and the spamming. And so this is just an example. We've done the same thing on all of the staff directories, not only on the division page, but also on the school pages and anywhere where we have a contact us type section. I'm making sure to build those the email addresses so that they're hidden to prevent that. So that is there. Just to kind of give you an idea, the nice thing is we are able to effectively use pictures and some photographs on the website. Not only every main page is going to have a rotating photo gallery that'll have about 6 to 8 pictures that'll be updated every 2 to 4 weeks by the schools. But we also have some different components where we can not only highlight some of the important information, but also highlight the really amazing things that are going on in our schools in a really interesting and unique way. And then just to kind of give you an idea of what the school sites look like, they have a very similar layout. We are able to put information available to parents, some of the quick access points for information that they're going to readily be using. The popular links and then the call to action buttons, again, they are exactly the same amongst all the sites. There are latest news sections where they can post information and pictures to keep things at the forefront and really highlight them at the top of the website. Upcoming events with calendars, and we are redoing the way that the calendars are maintained, which should make it easier and less cumbersome for our web managers at the schools. And then, of course, the information to how to stay connected with us on social media as well. And then here is an example of one of the middle school sites. We did clean up some of the colors to make sure that we didn't have any color contrasting errors and ADA compliance issues. And then, of course, the high school site. And you can see that those sites mimic each other as well. So to date, a preview link has been shared with division level staff to the pages that pertain to their purview, and they are currently looking through that. I'm asking for feedback. I'm asking them to help me with edits and for typos, because the hours I've spent looking at those sites, I'm starting to go a little fuzzy-eyed. I'll be meeting with all of them when we return from spring break to get some feedback to continue to fine-tune and tweak. We did preview the websites with the principals earlier this week at the principals meeting. And the Monday, the teacher workday after spring break, we do have a meeting with the school web manager. So we'll be previewing with them as well. And then those similar links will be sent to those individuals so that they can put another set of eyes to make sure that everything is fine-tuned before we go live. We will be doing specific training with our web managers on how to actually work with this new website. And I'm pretty confident that the web managers are going to be happy. This website is the back end, the editing end. It's very user-friendly. It's very intuitive. It makes sense. There is a site map, which is a fantastic thing. So I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised. And we've streamlined a few things to take some unnecessary work off of them, and I'm taking some of that lift for them to help them out with everything else that they have to do. We'll also be designing a marketing campaign that will launch probably mid to late May, where we will start notifying our families that come July 1, which is our launch date, and everything is on track for July 1, that the website's going to look different. And so we want to make sure that they're aware of that. I've already contacted Mr. Goldman with IT, and there's some things that we will have to do on the back end to make sure that that is seamless, and we're already making plans for that. And I've already been in touch multiple times with the provider just to make sure there's no hiccups on their end either. I'm pretty confident that this website, I'm happy with this website so far. I think the committee did a great job in selecting our new provider. I really think that this website is going to help us tell our story and really showcase the wonderful things going on in our schools. And I know personally I'm very excited. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Great. Board, any questions? Looks awesome. I like it.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry.
Dr. Hoden.
I had my notes all aligned. I didn't put a pause in there for Ms. Baleko, so I apologize for that. Mr. Chair, members of the board, you have in front of you several policies for first read.
And I will add, the majority of these are, I mean, really all of these are very minor little tweaks and adjustments.
Yeah, they are.
So it shouldn't be, if you have questions, that's fine, but we'll talk about it next month, but it shouldn't be a whole lot of anything controversial.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next, just want to talk to you about, I've been working on first semester discipline. A couple things that we needed to dig into a little bit more on some days, so I will provide that for you. I'll send you an email for that a little bit later this month, and then we can discuss. One of the things I wanted to bring out, though, that was pretty shining, last year, first semester, there were 603 incidents of cell phones. This year, first semester, there were 246. So although supposed to be in lockers, we still had 246, but that's a third, so that's much better. Additionally, the vapes were down, tobacco vapes were down from 78 to 41. I do believe that those are related as well. So just wanted to share, that was pretty astounding numbers that I wanted to bring that out to you. Okay, questions on that?
Board, any questions?
Yes, Mr. Terry?
Yes, ma'am.
Those statistics are very encouraging. What about our marijuana vapes?
I'll have that for you when you
Okay, great.
email. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Yeah, we're still trying to pull it all so it's clean and concise for you. So what we'll do is give you an email with that data in there, and then we can be glad to discuss in more depth at the May meeting.
I've got that already in there, but I'll kind of in my notes now, but I can share with you after. I think
Thank you,
they were
sir.
actually pretty close. The rest of the numbers were fairly close.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Board, yes, sir.
Dr. Holden.
Yes, sir.
So we've seen some improvements. what changed? What do you think changed, and what can we do to continue to improve on that?
You know, having them in their lockers, teachers policing those, and, you know, their students aren't allowed to have the phones on their possession, so, you know, that's improved. I mean, some obviously still are. We still had over 200 incidents first semester, but,
Right.
you know, certainly just continuing to preach that and push that forward.
Is there, so we're talking about cell phones that aren't supposed to be used from bell to bell. Is that understanding now? Are we talking bell to bell between classes? Or are we talking from the time you get off the bus to the time you get back on the bus?
From the time you get off the bus to the time you go back out on the bus, yes, sir.
So we got a plan to try to decrease it some more, some new.
Just continue to police that and, you know, share things at home and, you know, that's.
And I don't have the numbers, but, you know, the first couple of weeks of school were a lot higher rate, and as the years gone by, that rate has decreased because the first month they were figuring out the system.
Right.
And now they know the system, so those numbers have decreased, but we can have those numbers for you. But I think part of it is just awareness for student awareness and just making sure we're enforcing, and the consequences that are there, make sure those are being enforced with the students, but, you know, not being able to have your phone at school at all is a serious consequence as well. So.
Right. And, you know, there are a lot of other things that other divisions are doing that we've talked to, and they're all having their difficulties with it. You know, this was a much cheaper option than some of the others, and I feel like it's been as effective as what some of the other divisions are doing, you know, talking and sharing. I mean, everyone's dealing with it. Just, you know, the phones and vapes, I think they're two of the biggest things that, you know, discipline-wise we're dealing with.
Understand. Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right.
Board, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Mr. Terry. If we could get a copy of what the procedures are as far as consequences.
It's in the regulation, but we can send it
Is
to you
that the
again.
same?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I'll look, thanks.
Sure.
We'll send it to you again. That way you have it fresh on top of your email.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, also you have in front of you the student suspension report for March.
Okay. Board, anything? Thank you, Dr. Oden. 8.0.
So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, finance, Ms. Laconich had a medical issue this afternoon, and she is not here this evening. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions you have. This is her wheelhouse. I'm not aware of any red flags or anything else going on, but if you have questions specific, you can email her or you can get in touch with her, and or I can try to answer them tonight.
Board, any questions for Dr. Wells with the finance? Okay. Dr. Wells, I think we'll let you off easy.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Next, we have instruction. Dr. Norman.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Chair and members of the board, the first thing I'd like to discuss tonight is an update on school quality, Office of School Quality. Earlier today, we had a team that met with the Virginia Department of Education and Dr. Martha Powers, who is our state liaison for Amherst County Public Schools, along with Dr. Judy Cox, who is another person at the state level who goes through the school improvement process and turnaround schools in regards to federally identified. What we did is we had Ms. Natalia Cecil, Robin Wheeler, Josh Neighbors, Dr. Wells, myself, Ruth Matheny, that are on the federal team here at the division level, along with Ms. Jill Gwill, who was absent today. Meet with the team to go through each one of the schools who are federally identified, Madison Heights, Central Elementary, and Manellison Middle School. And we discussed what the process is that we have in place for our school support plans that are required from the state, and then what we have seen so far in regards to their data, what we have done in regards to professional development with the principals as well as with staff,
and then how we've seen that impact student success in the buildings, where it gets right down to the nitty-gritty. The best part about it was talking about our next steps. What are the things that we saw were working? What are the things that we were able to prove by data that are working? And then what are we going to continue? What do we know that isn't working for this group of students, and we need to take 2 steps back and figure that out? And so we had a very good conversation. We'll open it up to Ms. Wheeler and Dr. Wells and Mr. Neighbors if they'd like to comment. But it was a very good meeting that we were very transparent in the needs of the school division and the needs of our students and what we need as a division to move forward with student success. And it was a productive to where we actually opened up the dialogue for them to come in and attend one of the schools or all of the schools, meet with the principals to kind of share their experience through school improvement and their experience as working in federally identified schools, in case we may have missed something along the way, and to give us some next steps and initiatives that we as a division can support our principals and our teachers. Dr. Wells?
I just want to thank Dr. Norman and Robin, Ruth, and Natalia for their work on this and getting everything ready for this meeting. I felt the meeting was very positive. They had very good things to say about the work we have been doing as a school division, that our principals have been doing, that our teachers have been doing, and trying to look at what we can do next to improve. Our goal is to continue this momentum moving forward, and so that's what we're going to be trying to work on as we move into the summer. But I just want to say it was a very felt the conversation was positive, and I was thankful that it went that way. To be quite honest, it was an hour and 40 minutes, but it was a very positive conversation with the state, our reps at the state. And again, it was all due to the work that our staff has been doing, from teachers all the way up to the central office. But just thankful that all the work that's been put into this, and we're looking for more improvement moving forward.
Yeah. Mr. Neighbors? Ms. Wheeler? Okay. I would say that we would not have had such a positive impact without the support of the teachers in the classroom that are on the front lines with our students. They've done an excellent job this year, and they always do. And it's just the little tweaks that we ask them to do along the way, and they've done that, and we're seeing success, and we hope to see those success continue to grow, especially when our data comes out in the end of May. Okay, and we'll take any questions that you have. Yeah.
Okay. Board, any questions for Dr. Norman?
And we will get a follow-up letter from the state regarding positives, strengths, weaknesses, growths, or whatever you want to put it, where we need to focus on moving forward. So that'll be within about 45 days. Mm-hmm. So by the time we get into the end of May, 1st of June, we should have that information for you, and we'll share it once we get it.
Great. Board, anything else? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Norman.
You're welcome. The next thing is just the regular monthly laser report. If I can point out a couple of things in regards to laser. The system right now is down again. So the state has had some problems updating regularly, daily information. So attendance as well as our discipline. Some it has to be hand entered at the state level as well as some in our own division here. And so what we've done is we've tried to pull it as close as we can to the date, so you see on the specific day each month what that looks like. We have seen a decrease in our attendance rates across the division. We have some schools that went up maybe 1 or 2 points that we saw that was based on the flu that we saw in the last 30 days or 40 days. So our discipline has actually gone down as well, but we're in and out, and so our discipline numbers probably are a week to 10 days behind. So I just wanted to kind of let you know, based on what the state's doing with the laser system right now. And I'll take any questions. I don't know if I can answer them, but I'll try if you have any.
Board, any questions for Dr. Norman?
Just a quick question,
Yes,
if I
ma'am.
may. Looking at the division overview, I know that EWS overview shows that we have a small percentage of our students on track. But I think I understand that that's built on several different multiple components.
Yes, ma'am.
And is it the 3 components to the right of that?
Yes.
So looking at behaviors, we have good results there. Coursework, about 62%. So it looks like attendance is what's holding that down. But what I don't understand is if only 34% are on track, the attendance, behavior, and coursework, none of those are that low.
Correct.
So I didn't
Well,
understand how
it's-
those
you have
numbers pull
the-
together.
You have the 3 layers. You have the on-track, then there's the middle layer, which my brain is not working for that.
Early warning.
Early
Thank you.
warning.
Early warning, but those early warning could be like, from an SOL perspective, could be from 375 to 450 range, right? So you have that early warning. They could be still on track as far as passing things, but not be above that criteria they have set. So I think an SOL standpoint, 400 and above, 400 is passing SOL, but and how they're setting these standards up, that is not considered on track. On track is above 450. So I think the same concept can be used for attendance and for
Coursework. So with the coursework, it's just the 4 core classes, and not all of our students actually take all 4 classes. Like if you're a 10th grader, you may not take a history. If you're a 9th grader, you may not, you would take biology or science. So
Well, I guess I'm just asking about the metrics that's here in
Yeah.
front of us. If the overview percentage is built out of attendance, behavior, and coursework, how do we get 34% on track when attendance has 49% on track, behavior has 89% on track, and coursework is 62 on track?
the overview actually is the culmination of everything from the beginning of the year. And our year actually goes, the year for the data on this goes January to January. It's not a school year. So we actually, that's why they're trying to revamp the system. So it's from the first day of school in August or whenever the school system starts to the last day and it goes by your grading period. So that's the concern. So attendance, behavior, and coursework are just for these last 30 days. But then the early warning, they track it for the whole continuous year, which is January to January, if that makes sense.
And are they going to continue to do that, or are they
We've-
working to
We've asked
adjust
them to make it so it's school year versus the other, so.
Right, and that we would be able to go back on the 3 areas, attendance, behavior, and coursework, that we could be able to do a snapshot of, I want to pick in the month of January 1 to February 1 this year to January 1, February 1 of last year. We can't do that right now because of the way that the system is set up. I can't pick a piece of time. I can only look at the data for this particular day and what it says on this day. And it's for it's the past 30 days and it's for the full year for the early warning. So we've asked for several changes. The state started to make those changes, and when they did not sync with Power School nor Infinite Campus, and I can't remember the other one. That's a student management system.
So, last question, is this report used at all in determining how we remediate our students, or what actions we're going to be taking from this data?
This year, no, ma'am. I use very specific, we use Mastery Connects, which is common assessment that the teachers build. It's division level assessments that we build, and it's very specific. It's got the new SOLs updated to it. We do use this, we use Swiss for our discipline data because that gives us the location in the building. It gives us the time of day, what has happened. It was great when we started out because it only did the 30 to 45 days. But as you go longer into the year, it has not been what we needed in the division to do what we need to do with kids. So we have open court and the assessments that run weekly through that. We've put in through our SIG grants, school improvement grants, progress learning, no. Yes, progress learning and Dreambox for our math. So to make sure that we have dipsticks along the way that we're on the right course. And all of those are aligned with our SOL, the new SOLs.
So does this report have any value?
Not to me.
Board, does this report have any value to you?
Little.
I mean, it's well, I'm sorry, Ms. Chair.
Ma'am.
It's well explained. That's not what we're talking about, but
Right.
it was a good question, Ms. Thompson. What are we using it for, I guess we would
If it
say.
will let us do snapshots in time, so we could say where we are now, where we were last month at this time,
Right.
or it would be a lot easier, and I'm hoping to get to that point. It does give you your green, yellow, red as far as that aspect of it. That's a snapshot too of where we are like right now for for that month and where we are today, but I can't compare, I can't go back into the database and pull, okay, where today I'm here, January 10th, I was here. It doesn't let us do that, but it does let us kind of see as a snapshot where it's green, yellow, or red.
Right. I will say that this would be a report next year when the state works everything out that the board should receive monthly, because it will let you see the gradual growth and progress in each of these areas. At this particular time, it does not do that.
And for this particular month too, due to the issues with the state, that some of the data is not up to date, it's not, I'm not saying it's not accurate, but it's not up to where it's about 2 weeks off.
Yes.
Well, I know that we've met on 2x2s so that we can have a better understanding of how the division utilizes their data. I know that there have been board members that have asked, is there a way that we can have monthly reports or at least quarterly reports that indicate how our students are progressing? We have people from the public that come and say to us that we as a board, that should be our number one focus, and I agree. So my question is if this report is not giving us as a board the data we need, and this is a conversation we've had in the past, maybe we could look at getting a different report that would be more reflective of how our students are progressing, especially in reading and math, but, you know, in all the areas, attendance and behavior as well.
Yes, ma'am?
Mr. Chair?
Okay. Yes, ma'am?
Dr. Norman, when you compare the same timeframes that this report is covering to what your testing is showing, are you seeing a correlation? Is your like Dreambox and Mastery Connects and Swiss, those numbers, are they trending with this, when you use when you control for the same time period?
Right. So I can do that with attendance and I can do that with behavior, because those incidents are the same. Either you're here or you're not, or there is a referral or there's not. I cannot do that academically with coursework, because the academic piece in coursework is the actual gradebook grade. And what I pull in regards to student progress is not a grade in the grade book. It is a growth measure using either the platforms or small group instruction in our PLCs. It can be a common assessment that could go into the grade book, but every classroom or every grade level or every school is different. And so that's why it's very difficult to say every elementary school, third grade, you're going to, 3 times a year I can do it, because we do student growth assessment at the beginning, SOL test at the end, and a benchmark assessment in December and January. So I can tell you those quarterly, but weekly, like I need to, me as a instructional person, that is, I can't use this report. I can use it for discipline, I can use it for attendance, and those numbers are the same.
Because what that does, it pulls from the grade book. So it could be for example, a student didn't turn in assignments, like daily assignments, but they may have mastered the content, right? They may take a SOL type equivalent test or a benchmark test and make 100 on it, but because they haven't done their homework and they haven't done this, didn't turn this paper in or do that, that's what that's pulling, as opposed to the assessment aspect of it. So you could be doing great on the assessment, but not turn all your other assignments in and getting zeros on those, and it's going to reflect in that grade, in that report.
So laser is going from the grade book?
Yes.
Okay, so like in the previous 30 days, are you able to print off the report that's there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so can we do a comparison that way? If you
Yes.
print it off each month, then that will at least show you what the trend is, right?
That's what we've been doing.
Yes. Like they're all loaded up on board docs, so you can go back 3 months and pull the one we did 3 months, and we can show. But yes, ma'am.
We pull every month that you get, we save, and we have that so we can compare. I don't run it every day.
No, monthly. So
Right.
We can
you
we
can
have
use
that.
that data then. So it is
Yes, ma'am.
giving us real-time data, but it is not keeping track of it continuously,
system.
that you can access that data. So
Correct.
to have that data, you have to print it and compare it that way.
Exactly. And so your report, like on attendance on that second page, it talks about Central saw a 4% increase in students on track, while the other elementary schools also showed some gains, except for Amherst County High School and Amherst Elementary. So that's comparing what we saw last month to what we're seeing this month, that increase or decrease that we're seeing in either attendance, behavior, and coursework. But I wanted to remind you, coursework is all grades in the grade book. It's not what we use to determine mastery of that SOL standard.
Mr. Childress.
Mr. Chair. I have to express my disappointment. I've been on this board for 1 year and 4 months. And for 1 year and 2 months, I've been asking for a report. And when laser first came out, that was supposed to be the answer to it.
Yes, sir.
And my frustration is twofold. It's part of it is because I feel like we've been wasting this board's time by going through, you do a 10-minute, 15-minute presentation at every board meeting on laser. Please don't waste our time anymore, okay, with that. The second thing is I understand our teachers' frustration because you're asking them time and time again to compile data, to look at the data. We heard, from a speaker tonight talking about it. I brought it up multiple times. We expect them to do that, but that when the board asks you guys for reports so that we can make our decisions, we can't get a report.
But y'all asked for laser.
No, we did
Yes.
not ask for laser.
When we
I
presented-
asked for a stoplight report
Okay.
that will help us in determining where our students are. And what we just heard is that your own admission, laser is useless.
For academics, yes, sir. I don't use laser for academics, and I haven't for the last 2 months because it doesn't give me day-to-day information. And I can use it for attendance, I can use it for discipline. And right now, I can't even use it for discipline because the state's system is not up and running correctly. What you're asking for 4,000 students, or close to 3,812, I believe is what we have, is doable, and I have given you permissions to go into the document, but it's student-specific, and you said you didn't want student-specific information.
Yeah, again, as a board, we don't need student-specific.
Exactly.
We need a,
Sir, that's all I deal with. Student-specific, student success. So I can collaborate and I can pull it all together and I can put it in this nice little package for you. The problem is that doesn't tell me, that doesn't tell you how that subgroup is doing, and that's what I have to concentrate on. I have academic tool that I have given every board member access to. And you can go to the very first page, and it lists by grade level what the different areas are and how I track it through the year. That's how I track the data. You have access to that. You have had access to that since the beginning of this school year.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
For me,
Yes, ma'am?
if we had a way to compare the number of students, quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, that that teachers have considered at risk, or mastery, or both, so that we can say, at the beginning of this school year, we had, and I'm going to make these numbers up, we had 60% of our students at risk in reading. In the mid-year, we had 50% at risk in reading.
Yes. You were given that 2 months ago in the VALS data for K through 5. 6, 7, and 8, we have the academic tracking tool that we did student growth assessment, and that was given to you in the board report, in the board presentation for data.
I understand, but for me, you and your staff are professionals and you look at all this data every day. As a board, I just want to know whether our students are improving, and are they improving at the rate that we think they should be improving, that it's going to benefit them. So to just get basic numbers,
Okay.
I mean, I don't understand why that would be extremely hard to get the number of students that are considered at risk. Like, let's just stick with at risk.
Okay.
I'm sure when you meet with PLCs, you look at your teachers and you say, how many students are at risk? And if you don't, I'm sure they could come with, I have
Every teacher
5 at
puts a
risk
list
in my
of their
class.
groups
And
on a
easily
PLC
that could be
document.
tallied and totaled. And I know that that happens, weekly? Twice weekly, you have PLCs.
Yes, ma'am.
So, they're tallying how many students they have at risk twice a week, and I applaud that. I would like to know how many we have at risk, let me just say, monthly. I don't know. That sounds reasonable if we're asking teachers to tally it, that we ask the division to tally it, even at the division level.
Yeah. So.
And maybe this is not the time to continue this, but I share Mr. Childress's frustration. I want to know how our students are doing, and I'm thrown with so many reports that are very complex. It's difficult to be able to interpret and know. And with the expertise that you guys have, to be able to know how our at-risk students are performing is what I need. I don't need a lot of, I don't know, I just need the basics of how many at-risk kids do we have? And if the teachers can pull that together, they're the experts at how that happens. Maybe we don't need a fancy data software. Maybe we just need to know how many in each of our schools is at risk. I don't know.
Okay.
And if I'm the only one who feels that way, then don't waste any time on that.
Mr. Terry?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Dr. Norman, when you are getting that data from your teachers through the PLCs, is that inputted into like a living document, like, I'm not certain if it's Google Sheets or Google Docs
Yes.
that reflects immediate changes?
They do a PLC document once a week where they list what they're focused on for the week, math and reading, and then they group their students, so it's not a tally, they list every kid, a pre-test, a post-test, what that kid needs interventions on, and then they list the interventions down at the end. And that's discussed at grade levels or content-specific areas.
Do you have a document that shows at this school, there are this many students at risk in reading. At this school, there are this many students, just the basic number.
I do.
You do, okay.
And that is in reading. That is the VALS document that was presented to the board 2 months ago, where I think it was 2 months ago, where we explained this number of kids at 4th grade are above reading performance. This is where they were at the beginning of the year. This is where they are mid-year. This is where they were at kindergarten. This is how they transferred into 1st grade. And it's list out every grade level at every school and the number of kids and the percentage of did they go up, did they go down. That's for reading.
But VALS isn't a monthly thing.
VALS is not a monthly
No,
thing.
so-
It's quarterly.
So quarterly, you get that information. So quarterly, you find out where the kids are at.
Yes, ma'am. And then regularly, once a month, depending on the unit for reading, the teachers K through 5 do their common assessments through open court, and that data is put in the PLCs. If it's a common assessment, it's done in the school academic tracker, data tracker, that we actually can pull, and it gives a number and it gives information that that school utilizes and that we go in and support.
Dr. Norman, would VALS be considered a lagging or a leading indicator?
A lagging or a leading indicator?
Yeah, so when you're looking at data, the two types of
Yeah,
data, right?
yeah.
There's a lagging and a leading.
Right. I would say that it is more of a leading. I know where kids, I know by the interventions that I do with those kids and the tests that I give them, how far they're going to grow between now and the end of the year. So it's leading me to determine their performance at the end of the year. Is that what you're asking? Okay.
So it's not giving us information about where they are today, right? Because it's done quarterly,
Yes.
right? So
That's
it's a
the-
lagging indicator because
Right.
it's in the past.
Right.
It's what their performance has been. And so we're trying to predict where
Right.
they're going to be based on that, right?
Right.
A leading indicator is what is their performance today? And we can make assessments and judgments based off of those indicators. And those are the more informative type of data to look at because it tells us we're not looking historically, but
Right.
rather we're looking at where the students are performing
Yes.
today so we can make those adjustments to move them forward.
That's what is used at our PLCs.
Right. And I certainly don't want to, continue to beat a dead horse. But I guess my analogy is that you said that we have access to all this data. To me, it would be like you asking the teachers for all this data and then them saying, well, you have access to my grade book. Go get the data yourself. Right? And so I don't think it's quite fair to ask the board for us to go look through all of the student data individually when we're simply asking for a summary so that we can make informed decisions ourselves, which is one of our primary roles.
Right.
So,
So this is the packet we're
Yes,
referring
ma'am.
to, this thick packet? Yeah, I
Yes.
think we're looking for something simpler. At least I am.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
question, what grade is the VALS
It
taken?
goes K through 5th grade.
K through 5.
Well, K through 3 for
K through
VALS,
3.
and then we do our own 4 and 5.
Okay, so when I'm talking about at risk, that's K through 12. So
Yes, ma'am.
there is a large population that's not included in those VALs. So I guess I would appreciate understanding the number of at-risk students that we have.
Yes, ma'am.
It can even include at-risk for graduation, as opposed to just saying, well, we were given the data from VALs.
Right.
We need it.
And I'm using that as an example, that we have data K through 12. It just depends what that data is. Like if I know that at the high school, I am tracking science and math specifically because those are my areas of concern for those schools. I know I track CTE, I track dropout rate and graduation. And if they're ready, if they've taken all their tests. We are data rich.
I guess it's, and when we brought laser to you, I guess it was in December-ish timeframe. That's what, again, we were in agreement. I thought we were in agreement that that was something. Now we're looking at it and maybe it's not giving you what you need. So that is something we will bring forward. But we are tracking our at-risk students. We know who at the high school is at risk of not graduating. We know the I don't have the number top of my head right now, 15, 16 kids that still need to pass a
I'm
SOL
looking at it
test.
right
And,
now.
you know, we track that. So if
Well, I guess we
if that's
live-
what you're asking for, then that's, yes.
We live in a very complex world.
Yes, ma'am.
And we have a ton of data at our fingertips. I don't know about the rest of the board, but what I want is just the simple basics. Now, yeah, maybe by subgroup, that's important, but I'm not going to ask for that until I can just get the totals. You know, how many at risk? You know, if we can have a quarterly report on how many we have at risk for not graduating, how many do we have at risk for?
Right now, we have 12.
Okay, so we ask, but yet there's this dialogue is continuous, and I don't understand why.
Well,
So I just want simple data so that as a board, we can be accountable for whether our students are improving or not. And while 6 or 12 pages of data is important for us to look at, it's very difficult to discern whether our students are improving throughout the year at the rate that they need to be. I know that we have some gains that we need, some ground we need to make up. I know that our teachers are working hard in their PLCs and that they are collecting their data, trying to bring that to the table. And that's all we're asking, is that you can bring us some data that's simplistic enough for us to understand. And I don't dismiss the complex reports. Those are important because we do dig into those. But just a simple overview of where they were for me, the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, now.
Okay.
But, you know, that might be something that the board needs to talk with Dr. Wells about and get a consensus of what they want. I don't want you to create a report just for me as a single board member. But I do need simplicity to help me follow it through the year. And I need the complicated reports too, so that I can dig into the subgroups. But I think the point that started me with this conversation is the report that's in front of us doesn't seem to be giving us much. And therefore, that caused me to feel like I'm missing what I needed. So maybe the report's not every month, maybe it's every quarter. I don't know. That's something we can talk about, but so that there's not a ton of work. But
Well, I just want to, everybody saying the work is being done on our end.
I don't question that.
I don't want people thinking that we're asking teachers to do things and my staff is not. We spent, well, I'll say, this lady right here, Natalia, spent the past 3 weeks working 60 hours, 70 hours a week preparing data for the state review. And so I don't want people thinking that we're asking teachers to do something we're not doing. Now, are we getting it to you in the format that you want it? That's a question we can discuss and how we get it to you. But don't feel, please don't think that my staff up here is not busting their rear ends to analyze data, because we are. And we can give it to you. We can sit here all night and give you everything you want, and we sit here till 3 o'clock in the morning if you want to. I can give you everything we have. I don't think that's what you want. But please don't feel that they are not doing their job and we're asking teachers to do more than we're doing, because that is not the case. So I'll just leave it at that, and I thank them for all they do. And we will get you what you want next month. That's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you.
So I will speak to that, Dr. Wells, because I was the one who made the comment that spurred that. Is I have no doubt your team is doing the work. And the comment about giving us all the data, again, that's what we're saying we don't want, right? Is some of these reports are this thick. As a board, we can't use those really to make informed decisions. But what we would like is, some data that tells us where our kids are now, so that we can make informed decisions as a board.
And that's fine. I'll have that for you. We just now that that's out, and the laser is not what you want, then we will make sure you have what you want.
Mr. Chair, can I just chime up in here?
Yes, ma'am.
It depends, I mean, everybody's right, but every board tells them to do something different. Let me just help things out here. I have heard where we wanted this much data, because this was too less. So they gave us this much, whoever it might be, not just them. Some board members like to have books and books of data to compare or not compare from ever and ever, depending on what they're looking at. Some people want to know about attendance because that was one of the issues for federal accreditation. So we said, okay, we give you that. Some people say, I want to know about behavior. So I'm just being real. They gave us that. I might agree that we get a lot, but there was a board at one time, and we just have to understand how we change, that said, give me everything. I want to go home and look at everything. I want to look at what other counties have, what we have. I'm talking about discipline, and I'm talking about attendance, and I'm talking about behavior. And then I know we are dwelling on, and it's good, of achievement. So really and truly, in my closet at home, which is, I don't have any clothes in it, I have all this in it, there is all of this stuff. I laugh, but I'm being real. I have all of this stuff that we've been asking for, but it is reasonable to say, don't give it anymore. But truly, another board member someday will come and say, you're not giving me enough. I need to compare more. I need more numbers here. I need more state numbers. I need more country numbers. And that's where it came from. I was sitting right here one time when somebody said, this is not enough. This is too simple. I need more comparisons. So your point is taken, but don't speak for everybody when you say don't give me stuff. I think the board needs to have this conversation one day of what you really want. Is that all right? I just think that you said, don't give us nothing else. I didn't say that. But I like what we're all trying to say. Let's see what this board at this time needs, and that's a conversation to have. Data, let me just be through. I went to a class on data at the VSBA, and I almost died up in there because the conversation was very real, that data means different things to different people. And right now, we want data to mean something to us that will show us about student achievement. Am I right? That's what Ms. Thompson's talking about. Somebody else may want data to look at discipline. And so we did have this laser. I know I got something at home that's color-coded with just about everything on it. Subgroups, because I used to get mad. Y'all remember I used to get mad.
Yes,
I said,
ma'am.
why are you putting subgroups and telling me who's at risk? So we stopped doing that. Then the state said, no, you got to show subgroups. We have even each school somewhere in my closet, each school is divided into what situations they have in achievement. I know it's out there on what it's called, but each school, because I used to say certain school, and you would say, we're not going to put it up there because we don't want to upset anybody. So in my closet, I have every school broken down to at risk and all of that in the bag of chips. Now, I didn't say we need to not do it. I'm just giving my opinion, too. I hear what both of my colleagues are saying, but don't speak for me by saying don't give it to me anymore. Let's see what the board wants to do. And that's all I got to say.
Mr. Saunders?
Dr. Norman, I'm a pack rat. I pulled mine out.
Yes, ma'am.
And so it's got the fall risk, but we don't have mid-year. When can we expect any of that? Or maybe we're not getting that, but.
Is that the VALs, or
Yes,
is
I
that
got
your
the
data
VALs.
tracking?
So it's the VALs/PALS data, 2024. So I didn't know when it said mid-year wristbands, and there's no, the Excel spreadsheet, the formula is funky, so there's nothing on this one.
Yes, ma'am. We shared just a screenshot of that last month, but I can send out that exact copy with
Thank
the
you, Ms.
updated,
Wheeler.
mid-year, and spring will be there by the end of May.
Cool. That's what I think, for me, I have to deal with a lot of Excel spreadsheets, so it does help me see if we've moved across. So for me, that was fun. It's a lot, but it is what it is.
I have a one-pager that's an overall summary by grade, third grade reading, third grade math, fourth grade reading, fourth grade math, history, science, that shows, so I'll give you an example. Reading third grade, 287 total students, 51% of those at the fall were at risk, and now we are at 89 students, 31% at risk. And so we've shown growth in moving them over into well-prepared, which is your green. And this is a document, but this is a document that I discussed that it is the school's document that lists by students. So I can print this summary that dumps everything into it that kind of, I can print one so you can see it tonight to say, if you want me to print it out, I can give it to you electronically, but that's the one that has every kid in the entire division listed. And that's what you said, you didn't want that. But I can give you the initial summary page so you can see. It's a one-pager that lists the 4 content areas and what each of the things are. And it's fall growth, winter growth, and then what we'll have at the end of the year. But it is not it's that lagging or data. It is not the things that I'm using weekly in PLCs. I don't keep that. That's at the schools, and that's why we're in the PLC, so we can hear those discussions.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So I do want to correct one statement that my fellow board member said. When I made the comment about not providing it to us anymore was based on Dr. Norman's comment that the laser report is useless. So if board members want to get information that the administration themselves feels is useless, by all means, continue to ask for it. But I don't think we need to be receiving information that's useless.
And I stand somewhat corrected, sir. I'll take that. So, but I really don't even like to hear the title, just want you, I'm just talking. Useless information, because somebody's doing all this stuff here, I don't know, I mean, somebody is doing all this. So, it's not useless to somebody, but as I said before, and I think for Mr. Chair, and couldn't you being the vice and Mr. Chair, could look into this, that each board chooses what they want. I remember in superintendents, Dr. Arnold wanted us to use the word growth. You remember, Abby? And that's how we kind of got into a different way of looking, like we used to look at these things. But each person wants to do something different. And so I'm just saying that as a board, we come together and tell them what our expectation is. I like that word summary she just used, a sheet of that nature. You see, but if they don't know that, they'll continue, they being the people that supplied. So, you know, I try to read this stuff at midnight, you know, I just try to look at it best I can, you know. That and a good drink. Are we on Facebook?
We're live.
Ms. Terry.
Yes, sir.
So there's a lot of data collection going on, and I appreciate all of the data because you're not collecting it necessarily for the board. You're collecting it so you guys can make the decisions you need to make every single day in those classrooms, and I appreciate that 100%. I don't understand all of it. I'm not even going to try to understand all of the data you're collecting. But sitting up here as a board member, what would be useful to me would be grade, subject, and how are we doing? We get those once a month. Where are we at now? Let's say we see an increase at risk. Grade 3 math. Okay, now I might want to ask for some information and look at some of the other data that you collected. I'm trying to put less work on the teachers, less work on your staff. The highlights, you know, how many students we got that are at risk in each grade, each subject. And we can track that monthly. You're already collecting the data, so there's no extra data to collect. And then if we start seeing a trend, we may request additional data based on the trend that we're seeing. Now, you're going through the data all the time, so you're going to see the trend long before we do. And hopefully, we won't have to ask for more data is kind of what I'm understanding from sitting on this side. So that would be useful for me to go through and see third grade, math, at-risk students, okay? Last month, this month, next month, and then I can make a decision based on that.
I think if you're good with me printing it out for you and not giving you all the students, I think this will this will do it. But remember, it's just quarterly that we're seeing that. Because if I pull weekly, monthly, that's what I listen to with teachers when I'm in the PLCs and when my staff is in the PLCs. But yes, sir. Thank you.
So do we collect
Yeah.
that every month, or do you only
It's
collect?
collected at the school level. I have access to it,
Okay,
but it doesn't fall into one big data spreadsheet like the academic tracker does for the division.
right, so it
It
has
is
to manually be
individual.
placed in?
Right. I don't, because we allow teachers autonomy to, or the school's autonomy to use the tracking system and the PLC, how they track their tiering groups of interventions and what that looks like. That's up to the building principal and the teachers on how they track that.
Oh, absolutely, it's very important, they're the ones fighting the battles on
They're
the
the ones
ground,
that are
so
using
yes.
it, so.
Okay,
So the one that I keep at the division level, all that data dumps into one spreadsheet that I can summarize that, but it's only quarterly that I can do that.
is that a software thing that only allows you to do it quarterly, or can it be done monthly? Can there be a
that's-
data dump every month?
If I gave the common assessment across the board to every third grader monthly, yes, sir.
Okay, all right, so we're talking
But
about
I-
different matrix.
I don't
okay.
do that because one third grade teacher may be on unit 2 while another teacher may be on unit 4.
Correct.
And so the common assessments are different.
Understand.
Yes, sir. By different schools.
All right, so we can get a quarterly assessment,
Yeah.
general assessment every quarter.
Yeah. And I'll try to figure out how to do the monthly.
We do open court every week,
We do.
K5.
It depends on
But
what unit you're in with open court. So I have a teacher right now who's 2 units behind. We're trying to get them caught up, but they're 2 units behind. So if I give it a common assessment, it's not the same.
So you have a teacher that's 2 units behind, and how many other teachers are teaching that unit?
That's just an example that I know of right now. 'Cause
Well,
I
that's
learned
what I
about
want-
it this
that's-
week in PLCs.
Well, that's what I'm getting at here, is if you've got one teacher that's 2 units behind, how many other teachers are teaching the same topic? They're 2 units ahead. How many teachers are we talking about? Or how many
Right.
classes are we talking about?
Oh, well, if I'm talking about third grade, I have 3 or 4 teachers at every school except for Temperance. So I'm looking at 17, 18 teachers, and they all may be at different spots.
Some might be ahead, some might be behind.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah, it's difficult to
Hard
keep track
to-
of.
Hard to give a number to.
Yes, I agree.
I'll take any more questions.
Board, any?
Well, one final
Dr.
question. So the laser report isn't really, that's not one where people are gathering the data. That comes directly out of Power School, correctly?
Exactly.
So that's not our teachers having to put extra work in to
Correct.
generate those. That's generated directly out of the data that's already in Power School.
Yes, sir.
And it's only as effective as the data pool, and when the VDOE does not have their system talking with the other student-facing systems across the state, then you have lags in data.
Right, yeah. And Mr. Rossi said, what you're asking for was what I asked for last year, which was, we talk about the stoplight. What I was asking for is, you know, how many of our third grade kids are
Right.
in math? What are they doing? How many are green? How many are yellow? Meaning, how many do we think are struggling that we need to start providing them some interventions? And how many do we know are failing behind? Those would be our red students.
Correct, correct.
And that's what laser was supposed to help us do.
Yes.
And I know we certainly had hopes that it was going to do that. And it's no fault of the administration that laser isn't providing the data that we had hoped it would.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that it's not
Yeah.
providing the data that we need. And so we need to look at alternatives.
Right. We've actually talked to Kevin Harrison, he's our student systems manager, and or supervisor, to see how we can connect the common assessments in open court, what we're doing with Dreambox or Progress Learning, and how that can be put into Power Schools so it can go into the coursework. Because if we do coursework through grade books like this, it still isn't going to help us track student progress. It will help us track student progress with grades in a classroom, but that really doesn't tell me the mastery of skills. And so we're trying to figure out how to do that as well. Almost like a report card that is standards-based report card. We have that at kindergarten, first grade, and I think maybe second grade, but we don't have that for other grade levels.
Board, any other questions for Dr. Norman?
No. And I do have a wonderful little document where I put, and this is only
Sample.
quarterly, it's just a sample. Well, it's accurate right now, but it gives you information on what happens at third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, all the way up, and high school has its own wonderful spreadsheet that we can make copies and give to
We'll be
you.
glad to make copies of it and give you a copy of this tonight.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are those reports that you're giving us, the summary page, is that just for this past quarter?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that can we possibly have it for all 3 quarters so that we can look at results over time?
This covers October testing, it covers January, but we haven't done May yet for
Okay,
that.
so
you'll
it's not
see-
a quarterly report for that quarter. It has that tracking on it?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Perfect, thank you.
So you'll have this momentarily.
Anything else for Dr. Norman?
I'm not finished yet.
We got 2 more things to go over.
On laser?
On laser, I'm finished. Okay.
Laser's finished.
The next thing I have on my list is the testing calendar, and this is just to provide you information so you know when our spring testing is. I know that some of you stop by schools, you want to see what's going on. If you'll make sure that those days that are in for testing, if you want to contact a school, if you'd like to talk to Dr. Wells, normally testing is finished around 1:30, 2 o'clock. You're more than welcome to stop in and see how things are going. But the morning time for getting testing taken care of and all in the same, that's a busy time. So just if you'll let us know, we will make sure that administrator knows, and then you can come and go as you please. But this is just for your information.
So if you want to go to a building, I would just coordinate with us, make sure we work out any conflicts. Anytime after 2 o'clock is fine, but during the testing window time frame, just talk with us to work out any conflicts we may have so we can make sure we're not having any testing issues or testing irregularities or things like that as we go into the buildings.
Okay. Board, any questions? Yes, ma'am.
And if you have a teaching license and you'd like to be a proctor, we'll take those too. Okay. The last thing I have is I'd like to, first of all, thank Ms. Wheeler and Ms. Justice. Ms. Wheeler pulled together our textbook committee. We now have the secondary literacy textbook underway, and Ms. Justice was kind enough to sit on that committee for us as an observer, and I will turn it over to Ms. Wheeler now.
Thank you, Dr. Norman. Mr. Chair, members of the board, at your place tonight, you have a copy of the memo just summarizing the results and the discussion of the textbook committee, as well as a presentation with some of the findings that the committee reviewed from survey data collected. And so I'll be happy to answer any questions you have, but at this time, the committee does recommend that the board approve or consider the adoption of HMH into literature as the core program for grades 6 through 12. This decision or recommendation is based on a consensus of the committee members, and the committee does recommend a 5-year purchase of that program. I'll take any questions you have.
Okay. Board, any questions?
Chair, I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that Dr. Hoden mentioned that there are quite a lot of federal reviews that we seem to be getting, some with findings, some not. So with that, what assurances do we have that this series that you're recommending is in compliance with federal civil rights laws and any related court rulings?
Okay, so the state has not come out and said that it meets those guidelines because the materials and the book publishing companies was done after that law went into effect. I mean, before that law went into effect. So what Ms. Wheeler has done is actually go through the units that are there. We do have, there is, I think, one dealing with diversity. That is one of the themes that are there, but the book that we have right now does that same theme. So I don't expect any concerns, and I would treat it just like we have in the past, where that teacher has the autonomy to pick and choose what they want to use out of the textbook. It shouldn't be, I go from page 1 to page 300. They still have that ability to use it in what we as Amherst people would like our children to learn and read about.
And I appreciate that, but you just said that there was a unit on diversity, and I don't know that that's a bad thing. That's
Yeah,
a good
it's-
thing. And I don't think that that's what, the federal civil rights laws and the court cases
Right.
are about.
Yeah.
So they're very specific. So how do we as a board, before we vote on this? I mean, I don't want to take away from the book of things that we need to keep.
Right. I think the
so-
law is specific to the availability of allowing or saying that I have to have a percentage of the minorities in this class. I have to open it up to,
Right.
I
So
can only
on
have
the-
9 Hispanics, or I can
Right.
only have 6
Right.
black,
On
or
the
12
information
white.
we've received from council, whether it be local council or state level council from Vass and from Sans Anderson and from other state level folks on this and legal counsel on this, is that it's making sure you're not putting in quotas, so to speak. Having a section talking about diversity does not violate the executive order. Having a thing on equity does not violate the executive order. It's just, are you using those to put into place like quota systems where you have to have certain numbers of people of a race or of a sex or whatever into into a class or into a job area or whatever, which we do not have. So in our conversations we've had with council, they feel that what we're doing right now is well in compliance with that executive order. And so, again, I can't sit here and, I can say that based on what we have read from them, that everything we have is in compliance with state mandates. The state has to verify what they're giving us is within that same limits too, and the state has not pulled anything from this off that list. So this is on the state-approved list. The state has the same requirement we do. And so if they had reviewed it and they found something that was not,
They would have already
they
pulled
would
it
have already
off.
pulled it off the list.
Well, I have.
I think that's what you're asking.
Kind of, but I was thinking that the civil rights went a little further, and it wasn't just with what you're talking about, with like having so many representations in a classroom, but it went to the content, I think, of maybe some of the coursework of where maybe it promotes one race over another. And I know that the previous board even addressed that, that, we don't go into teaching that one race is better than the other, that we look at the equality there. So I want to make sure that that component is being
Addressed.
adhered to, because I think that's what the Title IX is talking about, the non-discrimination piece there. So if the state put the book out and understand that if there's something that's inappropriate and they're not meeting Title IX, that they should have removed that.
Correct.
But I also know there's some type of a document that we have to send assurances to the feds tomorrow, I think.
We do.
Well,
So I guess my hesitation to coming in and just adopting it tonight is that if you have to sign that tomorrow and the state has not caught up yet, what happens if we adopt it and we put all this money into it and then the state decides to pull it and we're sitting there, uh-oh. I guess we could do what Mrs. Wheeler is already doing, and if there's any that's not in compliance with Title IX, that we could pull them individually, I guess. So I was just trying to understand.
Yeah. I do believe you're right on that. It's more than just the quotas.
Right, I didn't even understand that piece. I didn't know that was piece of it.
That is, and we have removed that from our different comprehensive plans, our gifted plan, because we did have certain, and this was from years ago, in plans that were submitted to the state. And so that verbiage has been changed, open to everybody. We used to have a cap on certain, like early college, we had a cap. So we can check with VDOE tomorrow and send them an email and ask them if they've had any time to review before the board adopts.
I just think that would be wise,
Yeah.
but in the same vein, I guess if that's an issue and they pull certain things, we can also do that.
And short term, it was announced this afternoon that due to a lawsuit by the ACLU, there's been a stay on the enforcement of that requirement for schools to turn that in, for the states to have to report it. So right now it's in a legal battle, and so until April 24th is the new time frame, waiting for that to go through the courts. I just received that like an hour before we had our board meeting tonight. So there is some time there. I've been in contact with our council, and they said that everything we have were in compliance. So he didn't feel there's any issues. They're looking at what we do here in Amherst County with that executive order, but it is a stay on it right now, as far as the enforcement of that executive order.
And I just want to say that I don't want to leave anybody with the impression that I don't value diversity. I do. That's not what I'm asking. I don't want that to be removed, just for the sake of, well, let's get rid of it so that we apply to this executive order. But I want us to be very specific about the civil rights and Title IX. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Terry, so they recommend 5 years, the 5-year adoption. Now, how long have we had the current one?
22 years.
Okay, exactly. And the reason we're through this and I don't want to prolong it, because in the world we live in today, things are happening exponentially fast. Data, information, learning. I would rather see a 3-year versus a 5-year, because there's a lot going to change in 3 years, 4 years. I don't want us to be 20 years before we adopt a new program, is what I'm saying. I don't want to wait 20 years. There's a lot of stuff that happened in the last 20 years that's not in those books.
Yes, sir.
And I'd rather 3 years is pretty good for as fast as everything is changing in this world. So I don't know if we want to go to a 5-year and make that last another 20. I don't think that's where we want to be.
I will say that the reason that the committee, and Ms. Wheeler, you can discuss this, chose the 5 years because that's what was chosen for the elementary, and we wanted to keep it within the same time frame. Ms. Justice, you were there. Was I mistaken on that?
No, you're correct. And the other thing to keep in mind is that it takes a few years, right, of implementation with the program. We're seeing that with our open court implementation. And then also our standards change every 7 years. So knowing that this is aligned to our 2024 standards from the companies that are being provided to us to be able to have access to the resources. And so part of that 3-year versus 5-year adoption is access to the instructional resources, consumables, that kind of thing that come with the program. So the textbook is the textbooks once you have it, but then you're renewing the support pieces within that program is why the 5-year recommendation.
Right, and so you're thinking you're going to need additional support after 3 years?
So it gives access to the online, the digital pieces. So the committee is suggesting a classroom set of hardback books, but students then have access to the digital platform, the testing platform. So we're asking tonight for those quarterly updates or reviews. This program would be able to provide that if we have access to the digital platform to do the assessment pieces with it. So that's the 5-year request, is to give us access for at least the 5 years to be able to use those resources that we lose after that contract expires and we're just left with the textbook itself.
Right, but we can also, at the end of the 3 years, add on another 2
Absolutely.
years.
You could, yes,
So we
sir,
can
right.
decide whether or not we want to keep it or
You
not.
could.
I'd rather, I mean, personally, I just think it would be more valuable to do a 3-year, because who knows, we may not like the program and want to change it all in a year, 2 years. Once we get to know it, it may not be what we're looking for. It may not be what our community wants, so I don't want to get us roped into another 5 years of something we can't gain.
And I believe the
Can't grow with.
recommendation for the 5 versus 3 was just the cost savings associated with the 5 versus the 3.
Right, right. And you know, knowing it now, it's something we can budget for 3 years, right? We can budget for expanding it if we want to. But that's a number we have today, and in 3 years, it can be in the budget, because I know the county was all about us planning for things and not just saying, hey, this is what we need. Isn't that what I heard in the meeting, basically? Don't be reactive. Yeah, I know. I feel your pain. But at least we can have something for them. Say in 3 years from now, we may want to expand this.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Norman, do we know what the renewal cost would be in 3 years?
No, but we can find out.
Yeah, it's usually a price per student for that because it's the digital piece. We'd have the hard copies
Right, yeah,
already
we'll have the
present.
books,
So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a per
My concern is
pupil
just
expenditure.
the time value of money. You're talking about $100,000 right now for 2 years. So in 3 years, we need to be
Maybe
renewing it. And
200,000.
we also know that the cost goes up as time goes on as well. So instead of spending 100,000, we may be spending much more than that. So
Yes, sir.
that would be my concern to wait.
Okay. Board, any questions? Any more questions?
If we're going to figure out the cost difference, let's find out if we get rid of the program after 3 years, if we can be refunded that difference also. I mean, why not?
Always good to
Or
ask.
keep it or get rid of it.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Buy it or sell it.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is you want us, we'll find this out, we'll get it to you during the month, and I guess at the May meeting. I would like for us to, due
Make a
to the
decision.
ordering and all the time frame to get materials in, that we could order, if you can come to a consensus in May, that then we can order, so we have the books before in July, so teachers can have a chance to look over materials prior to the school year starting. If we go into June, then we won't get the materials in time.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Terry, so a couple of the things that I heard when I was in the committee meeting, one teacher that I was sitting next to, she had used it in remedial and had seen her class grow exponentially as far as content and performance. And several teachers commented that one of the reasons they preferred this curriculum was that it was a little more concise. They felt that the other programs would be overwhelming, and they would be like, okay, no, I'm done with that. Two more things. One is that the other programs had, one of them had like 14 areas of SOL limitations. This one had the lowest. It had 6, I think, or was it 3? Yeah. So this had the lowest, and that was evaluations from VDOE. And then the final thing was that a majority felt that the that this program included more of the classics versus another program was far more limited as far as classics. And in general, people felt that the scaffolding for special needs and adaptive was more supportive. So that's what some of the things that I picked up from the committee.
Thank you for that insight. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to thank all the teachers and the staff that were on the committee and all the hard work, and I'd like to thank Ms. Justice for representing us and giving us that feedback. And I understand the timeliness of this, so, I know that we're going to pick a date that we're going to get together to work on some board, the superintendent's goals, so perhaps if that information was available by that time, we could address it even before the board meeting, just something to think on.
Yes, ma'am. So I want to make sure got this correct. We're going to find out from the state if the books meet the criteria under civil rights laws and the new legal piece of it, to get the additional cost in regards to what it would add to if we go 2 years, if we go the 3 years and then we add the 2 years on for supplemental, and then what the refund would be if it's available. Those 3 things. Did I get everything? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Norman.
You're welcome. I am so done, y'all.
Thank you, Dr. Norman.
You're welcome.
Dr. Wells, moving on.
I believe we're up to Human
10.0.
Resources.
Human
Yes, sir.
We are.
Resources.
Mr. Chair,
Gallagher.
members of the board, happy pre-spring break Thursday. Anyway, we're looking forward to that, and I'll start off by wishing you all an upcoming happy and well-earned spring break, along with all of the amazing employees in Amherst County Public Schools. The first item we have this evening is the vacancy memo for this month, which again outlines current vacancies, which are, fewer and fewer, thankfully, and vacancies for next year. A few notes that are worthy. The music position has been hired. It has been hired for next school year. We had it open for this year, being hopeful, but it has been hired, effective since this memo was posted, for next year. 2 of the CMP assistants have been hired. And down below, we have our list growing for next year. Interviews are set for elementary tomorrow. We have 8 or 9 candidates there. School counselor is in process, so hopefully offers shortly there for Manellison. Interviews are set for math teacher for AEC, as well as pending offers for science teacher. So there's progress daily. This comes out Friday, and we're actively working. So I'll take any questions you have about the vacancy memo.
Board, any questions for Mr. Gallagher?
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Happy
You're
hunting.
welcome. Thank you. So you'll be receiving a medical insurance survey coming out on April 23rd. We have that completed and ready to push out and press send. We're going to send that out after spring break to make sure nobody loses that in the wash over spring break. But the reason for that, as we had talked about before, over the past decade, as you're aware, we provided our employees with excellent medical benefits and have made it a priority, and you all have made it a priority to eliminate or minimize premium increases. We've absorbed those market increases as a division, so we've kept that flat as far as increases for employees. We'd like to take another step in that same direction by considering making our benefits even more affordable and regionally competitive. The survey that you will see on the 23rd will be seeking employee feedback regarding possible reductions in our medical benefit premium rates, along with mild increases to deductibles, which would make our benefits even more affordable and also more regionally competitive. So that will be a detailed and informative and hopefully well-explained survey that will come out, and we'll give an opportunity for people to respond. And we hope that it'll help our efforts to continue to be competitive with not only our premiums but our medical plans for our employees. But I'll take any questions you might have.
Board, yes, sir. Mr. Childress.
So, Mr. Gallagher, are you suggesting that by decreasing the rate and for the medical insurance, but also increasing the deductible,
Correct.
is going to be a good thing for our staff?
I do, and here's the reason. We have amazing benefits. I'll give you an example. And this is just an example of one of the proposals. We have a $300 deductible plan. If I'm on a family plan for that, I'm paying over $900 for the plan per month. That is not nearly competitive with our region at all. People have left because of things like that. If I increase it to a $500 annual deductible, which is a $200 increase, but reduce the premium by $200, and all this balances out, it's not going to cost us more money to do this. That offset is going to help me quite a bit with $200 a month for 12 months, whereas my deductible is increasing by $200. That's an example. And there might be, potentially slight increases with a copay here or there, but it'll be well explained in the survey so you can understand how it will be beneficial. It's broken down in the survey exactly how it benefits the offset, the increases in deductible compared to the reductions in premiums.
But like in your example, with you personally, like the $200 deductible, that's per individual, so it would be potentially $200 for you, $200 for your spouse that you may have to pay if both of you incurred the need for medical attention. And then the family, their overall goes up as well.
Well, we've evaluated all those things, and we're going to show the actual offset benefits, which are clearly laid out in that when it comes out. So rather than dig into that now, certainly when it comes on the 23rd, you'll kind of see where that lies. And we've evaluated all those things and vetted that with finance as well, so that it shows where the benefits are. And it's more benefits for some groups than others based on whether you're family, individual, and so forth.
So we'll share that with you prior to sending it to staff just so you can see it, but we just want feedback from staff.
Yeah.
This is not a predetermined thing we're doing, it's just we want feedback from staff and see if that's something they would be in favor of doing, and then we'll take that feedback and bring it to you for further consideration.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
when is the last time that we offered them a different plan in order to save money but cause the deductibles to go up? Was that a year ago, 2 years ago?
No, we've put surveys out before, but and it was relatively maybe a 57% response with a low response rate to making the changes. But what the feedback we got was that people didn't understand what we were proposing. So that's why you all had asked us to pull a committee together, and we did do that, which was an excellent committee. And people felt like it just needs to be clearly explained, and the committee realized the significant potential benefits. But we're not going to make that decision without getting feedback and input from the employees.
But the last time we
have not made changes.
Change was prior to going self-insured.
The last time we had a percentage increase,
Or adjusted the
we have.
Deductibles.
Let me just say this, and I apologize. We've not changed the plan since I've been in this position as far as.
No, but we changed the deductible.
versus what you pay.
We went to higher deductibles.
I don't recall actually making that change. I remember considering that change. I don't recall making that change.
If anything, it will, if, I have to pull the numbers, Ms. Thompson, but I know it would have been before we went to self-insured, which would have been at
I think
least.
that's right.
Which would have been at least 3 years.
3 years ago?
Yes,
Okay.
I just don't recall, so I apologize. I don't remember making that
I'll
change.
get with Mrs. O'Connor, we'll find that.
Okay.
And I'll have it for you.
And maybe that was the purpose of that was to not pass along increases, but I don't recall, so we'll have to look into
Right.
that.
I think
That's
you're
not in my
right.
memory.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Board, any other questions? Mr. Gallagher?
Okay. All right, just a couple of announcements. One is that we have set the date for our ACPS retirement reception, which we love, the opportunity to reflect upon and celebrate our amazing retirees. That's going to be on May 20th, which is a Tuesday, and that's at 6 o'clock at Sweetbriar College Pro Throw, where we've held that in the past. So I encourage all of you to be present and welcome you to be present on that evening. And just as an upfront reminder, we typically want to get there a little bit early so that everybody gets past the gate there and we're prepared for that. The other announcement is that our National Educator Appreciation Week is upcoming, and that's going to be May 5th through 9th. Our typical practice has been to provide lunches for all of our amazing educators in all positions across the division, and we will follow suit with that. So I would hope that we will ultimately remind you of that. I know Ms. Ligon and others have been out in the schools during those days. We'll give you the schedule to help either distribute lunches and kind of thank our staff for all that they do each and every day.
So we'll get you that schedule about probably a week out, make sure it's locked in time-wise, and then you're welcome to join us.
Approximately when is it?
It is
May 5th to the 9th.
Okay, thank
So
you.
each day, so there's different schools and departments that'll be on the list for each day, so we can get that we can pull that feed off.
And this year it's Chick-fil-A?
Well, we haven't announced that yet, so I was going to hold that surprise, so.
It's going to be a local restaurant.
We know, but we're
people
going to
will
wait, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. I have the pleasure of sharing the impact report from our February 17th Sharing Our Strengths A Day of Peer Learning. We surveyed all the participants so they could evaluate, since this was the first time of us implementing a PD in this manner. What you see are the highlights, and I'll just touch on a few things listed. We had multiple pathways that participants could engage in their learning. Instead of it just being a one face-to-face, some had options of doing online learning, as well as some type of hybrid learning together with others, as well as face-to-face classroom instruction. We also were trying to be very responsive to what we had been hearing from teachers, that they wanted PD that was relevant and that gave them choice. So that was the whole focus of this implementation of the PD being done this way. From the survey results, everyone felt like they were getting something that they could actually use, they could implement later, and they thought it either met or exceeded their expectations. We got feedback on things that they appreciated about it, like the hands-on learning components, as well as learning from peers, a different voice than just hearing from central office members. And they thought the organization and the structure was well laid out. We did pick up on some points where we know we have to improve, and they want to see more for K through 2. I had some conversations with instructional assistants. We even had instructional assistants show up, even though it was their day off, because they wanted to engage in the learning. So knowing that we need to add that component for our instructional assistants is in the plan for next year, as well as sessions that are more tailored to groups like school counselors, school psychologists, even people like bookkeepers and secretaries. We're starting to think about what that might look like next year. Another great component was the shadow experience. That had a wonderful representation. I think we had about 54% of our CTE fine arts teachers that participated in it. And we know that percentage seems kind of small, but it was kind of like a soft launch. Some were uncertain about who they would engage with, how to make those connections. So some did choose to do the in-person or online classes. What you see there are a list of some of the organizations and businesses that our teachers connected with, and I've been going through some of their reflections, and they all felt like it was a well worth experience. They picked up on things that they could actually embed in their classroom, experiences with students, created new partnerships and networks, having people from the organizations come into their classrooms and help expand on the learning experiences that they're providing students, and it just gives them a different and fresh perspective, and you see from the testimonials that were listed there. A lot of them had tangible outcomes that they were looking to get out of the experience, so that was broken down in the chart as well. And many of them had immediate actions that they were going to act on. Some of them have more long-term plans that they plan on implementing at the end of the school year, and then to prime their thinking for how they're going to plan instruction for next year. One thing we did pick up from the feedback is that they would like to see this happen earlier in the school year. So we're already underway to see how this might be able to be pulled off in November, which will be putting some things in place a lot earlier than later, like we did this year, February. It felt like it was the learning that if they had gotten it earlier, it could be more follow-up and support and implementation throughout the year. And then also, they want to see bigger sessions. So I'm hoping with the new construction that's going on at the high school, we'll have an even better location so that some of our sessions, topics that were really popular would not be limited. So the team is already thinking about how this is going to look next year and making it even bigger and broader for our staff. And I'll be willing to answer any questions you might have about that day.
Board, any questions for Dr. Rose? Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
I was like, people really like the artificial intelligence class that I gave.
They sure did. Those instructors, they were really top-notch. Yes. The last thing I have to share is a memorandum that we give annually about our professional development plan. What you see here is a synopsis of how we identify needs and the implementation of professional development, not just for teachers, but also for specific positions as well as our leadership team. The last thing that you see linked in there is a document where I track professional development that is being delivered at the division level to specific schools. Many of these implementations are being requested by principals to get their staff skills up at a better level so they can impact student outcomes at a stronger point. So if you have any questions about that document, I can answer them as well.
Board, any questions for Dr. Rhodes?
Okay, thank you very
Dr.
much.
Next, we have Mr. Neighbors and Student Services.
Yes, sir. Board docs, you have a copy of your monthly utilization report for the best labs. You will notice that the number of visits has significantly decreased in March. I would love to tell you that's because that intervention is so successful. We cut the number in a third. Unfortunately, the flu is real. It hit this particular population very, very hard. Several of our workers, or excuse me, several of our best lab staff, as well as a number of our students that are frequent visitors to their respective best labs were all out for extended periods in March. What we did notice in the data, and I've talked to Dr. Smith, we'll be working on a report for the board to be delivered either in May or in June, that some of our most frequent visitors to the lab, we are beginning to see a significant decrease in their need of utilizing that particular support. And that's exactly the data that we were hoping to see this time of year. So that'll be coming to the board so you can see that as it is played out with some of our students there. But unfortunately for this data point, the flu was heavily impacted what we had this time around. As always, be happy to answer any questions for the board. You will notice even with the lower numbers, we still have that same large population in our earliest grades using this resource at each of our schools.
Okay. Board, any questions?
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Dr. Wells?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, superintendent matters. Not on the agenda, but we have a new state superintendent of instruction, Emily Ann Gullickson. The former state superintendent of instruction resigned, and Ms. Gullickson was appointed by the governor to be the new state superintendent. On top of that budget update, the governor made recommendations to the General Assembly for the budget. The General Assembly opted not to take any of those recommendations up and return the budget to the governor as was, and no changes were recommended in the General Assembly. So now the governor has until May 2nd to either approve that, do line item vetoes, veto the whole thing, or he could not sign, and by not signing it will still go into effect. Those are his four options. We'll know more by May 2nd, but right now that's where we stand on the state budget. So until that happens, even though we have approved ours and the county is doing theirs, until we have a state budget, we will still have to monitor what's going on in Richmond. So just letting you know that. The day of giving is tomorrow, and we'll be out. Now it is supposed to rain. I think most of the rain now is pushed off to the afternoon, so hopefully get our morning in. And we only have 3 sites that are really outdoors. One is at the Dixie Youth Fields for baseball and softball, as well as a Coolwell Park. But we'll keep buses on site there, so if the rain does come in, those kids can get on a bus, and I can take them to one of the schools, and they can just help supporting students in the schools as opposed to doing the outside work. A lot of our elementary schools are doing some type of activity with the students outdoors. We've asked them to move those indoors. So just in case of the weather, we'll be there. You're more than welcome to come around to the schools tomorrow. We'll be getting started around 10 o'clock and go till around 1:30-ish, and we bring the kids back to the high school for dismissal. CES reading event. We had a lot of participants, had 28 participants, I believe, at Central reading to students. Several of our staff went, some local business leaders went, and also community members went there. It was a great day. Appreciate everybody that was in the community that came in, and appreciate all the staff here and the county and you that were there to read to our kids at Central. The Education Foundation Student Showcase Luncheon was held in March, and that was another good event. We had several people come to the high school to hear about the Education Foundation. We had some good conversation, some good food, and they got to tour the construction as well as the CTE site with that. Smart Start and kindergarten registration is April 23rd and 24th. We will start that, and we'll see where we go with those. Trout releases, and we have some people in the audience tonight, so I'm just going to mention this. So we have Marilyn Gilbert back here, and Don Glasser, and Bev Jones, and some other people who were mentors of mine when I was, just like Mr. Roke said earlier. Marilyn's husband, Marvin, was a great mentor of mine. And part of this trout release stuff, I'm going to be emotional here for a second. Part of this trout release stuff is because of what they did with me when I was in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. So I do thank them for all they've done. And continue to. Roll the video. So what we do trout in the classroom in all of our schools, and for the elementary schools, I take all the elementary students up to Peddler River, and we do the trout releases. And it's not just releasing the trout, that's part of it. But a lot of it deals with what we do with our students as a result of that. We do some environmental discussions, we do macroinvertebrate searches, and people will say, well, 3rd and 4th grade students, they can't figure this stuff out. I'll tell you they can. They can identify what lives in the water, they can use that, and they can tell me what's there. And then they can come back and identify and determine the water quality by looking at the macroinvertebrates that live in the stream. So all of our kids go through this. It was kind of cold. That day was the warmest day. But I tell you what, when we went up there this week, it went Tuesday, it was 37 degrees, and the kids jumped right in and did it. So it was kind of cool up there on Peddler. What our job is today is to see what's in our net. The little ones like this stuff we put in here, crawfish, if we catch a minnow, if we catch them like that, we'll put them in the bigger bucket, but the little ones we put in here. Now, so it's part of the MeWes, and they do the water quality testing. We talk about it, we talk about just the environment in general, and make sure they understand that what we do up here impacts everybody downstream from us. People don't realize that that Amherst County, every drop of water that runs off of Amherst County goes into the James River watershed. And so it goes on down and affects everybody downstream. We were lucky enough on last Friday with Amelon students to coordinate with the Department of Wildlife Resources, and they brought a special trout truck down, and they let the kids see some of the larger trout they stock as well as some of the smaller trout. And the assistant hatchery manager actually talked to the kids about each type of trout species, what they do, how big they get, and stuff like that. And the kids, we didn't let them touch them because they didn't want to damage the fish. Because I can see our kids now trying to pick them up and drop them on the ground and stuff like that. But they got to see them, and it was a great day for them too. So, applause, thank you. So that's what we do with that. Again, it's a great activity for our students. It gives me a chance to connect with our kids and actually teach. The teachers that go up get to see me actually teach and not just sit in the office making decisions, but actually engaging with our students and working with our kids. And it's a great experience for me. And I do just want to thank them for the support they gave me a few years ago. About what, 40? 45? I don't know. I think I was 12, 13, 14, so a few years ago. But again, thank y'all very much. All right, moving on. Bass Spring Conference coming up April 27th, 29th. I'll be in attendance. Golden Age ceremony is April 23rd. That will be at the high school. That'll be in the gym because we won't be able to get into the new part yet. STEM senior internships will be the morning of April 30th. We'll have staff there. If you want to attend, you're more than welcome to. Just let us know. The National Honor Society Golden Tassel is April 30th at 6 p.m. at the high school. I think that'll be in the gym or cafeteria. Probably the cafeteria. Yeah. So probably the gym. We're in the middle of the construction. We'll be somewhere at the high school. I'll let you know. CVCC graduation is May 15th at 7 p.m. Our graduation is May 23rd at 7 p.m. at the Vine Center. We will work on schedules and transportation and stuff for board members if you so desire as we get closer. I do want to make you aware of something. Ms. Ligon is aware she's getting this award, so it's not a surprise. But I've been asked to invite the board and my staff to attend this recognition of Ms. Ligon. So Ms. Ligon is being awarded the Humanitarian Award by the Virginia Center for Inclusive Communities. And this will be held at Lynchburg College of the University of Lynchburg on May 22nd at 6:30 p.m. And I was asked by for that team to invite our staff and our board members, and I will figure out more on that as we get closer. But just be aware, May 22nd, and it is to recognize Ms. Ligon for a humanitarian award. I think she's one of 4 or 5 people to receive this award this year. So congratulations to Ms. Ligon for all the work she has done in Amherst County. So, and I believe that is all I have for you this evening, and turn it over to Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay, so now we're at 13.0, which is closing public comments. So does anyone from the audience like to approach the board? Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Afternoon, evening. Gloria Witt, 432 Browntown Road, Amherst, Virginia. Just a few comments. Been a long session today. Some things just don't change, huh? Been a while since I've been here. First of all, in listening to the comments, the website, and there's a decision to blank out email addresses. How will citizens be able to email their representatives? I don't know if you'll get a response. I'm just asking these questions.
If that's okay.
Okay.
Sure. So what we did, you click on the button, and it automatically goes to that site without posting the email out there for people. So you click on it, you'll be able to do email.
Perfect, perfect. And I know you're tracking behavior suspensions, and there was a time when it was okay to track by demographics, boy, girl, white, black, etc., because we have a history in Amherst of some inequities. Bad word in today's times. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to get reports regardless of the EOs and what's happening under this Trump era, because that's very important to understand that we are being fair, which is a better word, I guess, than equity. And third thing, while I have the mic, congratulations, Ms. Ligon, on your humanitarian award. We're so proud of you. And the final thing I want to say is, when I hear the board tentatively discuss purchasing books, and the question came up about where are we in alignment with civil rights, it's actually a paradox when this board inquires about diversity and civil rights, because under the Trump era and with MAGA supporters, human rights and civil rights are being attacked every day. Every single day. We're getting our rights rolled back. But we knew that because Project 2025 told us. And so members of the MAGA party constantly are inquiring about what's going on with civil rights. I would like for some empathy to be shown to people of color and Black Americans when it comes to civil rights, and really understanding what that means, because we're under attack every single day, as well as women. And so now it's invaded the school system, and we are afraid to even mention the word diversity. Diversity is a good thing. We need to learn how to appreciate and respect differences rather than erasing and ignoring our history. And I would like to see a little bit more empathy coming from this board and have a spine to stand up for people who happen to be non-white. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Barbara Pryor, not sure my district, Pleasant View. I wasn't born here, but I can tell you basically all my roots are here. I live very near my fourth great-grandfather, who was a Revolutionary War soldier. I'm sure I have multiple ancestors that owned slaves, had children that were determined to be mulatto. I went to school in Maryland, right outside of D.C., coming down here all the time for family. But in the 10th grade, I had a biology teacher, a gray-haired, old, crotchety woman. But she taught me about blood. And she taught me, and I had heard this from different people. I have to say I never heard it from my parents. I won't take blood from somebody of color, and they use the N-word. And so the concept of blood became very important to me, because I would imagine in this day and age, each and every one of y'all sitting at this board would not question if you were O positive and you needed blood, that you would take it from wherever you could get it, even from a person of color. And what is this society doing that we are turning on one another instead of protecting our planet, defending what we have created over generation after generation, and now we're going to divide it and go back to the hatred that was there? It is despicable to be doing this in this century, and I was born in the last century, and I never thought I would see the hatred and the violence being created by people that have no self-respect and little self-respect for others. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Ms. Terry?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask that the speakers keep things to school matters.
Okay.
Well, it's been a long meeting, but I appreciate the opportunity to take 3 or less minutes of your time. Sam Soger, District 2, parent, community member. So we're at this place again with the textbooks. And so that we went through this, I don't know, that was like over a year ago with the elementary school textbooks. And I can't help but being reminded at that time that one of the objections, in my estimation, was that there was too much Greek mythology in these elementary school textbooks. I even remember, I think it was suggested, that there was a concern that Christian children might become confused and start worshiping the Olympians. And I really struggle with that, you know, as someone who's into academics and stuff like that, and interested in Christian scholarship and, you know, world history and stuff like that. So it just seems like a similar type of comment was brought up tonight. That was that the textbook might be promoting one race over another. And that just can't be. I mean, that's, you know, I went in and reviewed those elementary school textbooks, and just sort of like my sense of academia and stuff like that, that's just not something that's being done, right, in a high school reading textbook. So I really, with peace and love, would love y'all to think on that and really look into that. And I'd like to maybe have some feedback of what is actually being said there, because maybe it's just the optics of it, you know, the way that feels is at best a bit offensive even. You know what I mean? Okay. Thank you all for the extra time. Good night. Peace and love.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay. Well, seeing none, we're going to move on to 14.1 or 14.0 and 15.0. So we'll do committee reports and individual reports together. So, Ms. Saunders, we'll let you kick it off.
I'm not so sure I want to go first this time. Well, I've been a lady about town here last month or so, a couple weeks. I went to the Education Foundation luncheon. That was great. Had a nice lunch from Chef. I appreciated that. I got to have more bread pudding, so that was always a plus. I did go to the art show, drug my husband to that. And we have some very talented artists, young artists, and I encourage that. I'm a parent of an artist myself, so that's something near and dear to my heart. And then Ms. Ligon and I, we went to the Regional Virginia School Board meeting. And the main reason I really wanted to go, because I wanted to see the school. And I definitely had school envy. And I'm hoping that they will come and see our school, and then they'll have school envy. But what we did find was some really great collaboration. We learned some different programs that I'm going to hit Mr. Maddox up, because he knows I love my CTE people. But that was my first one, so it was very enjoyable, and I'm glad I got to go. I'm glad that the school is doing the Day of Giving. Giving back to your community is such an important factor of being a good citizen, and I'm glad that we're teaching that, because some people are not going to learn that at home, and I'm glad that we're setting that example. Okay, if I was in charge of the world, this is what my best friend and I say all the time, if I was in charge of the world, budget for children would not be an issue. But unfortunately, or fortunately for you all, I'm not. But I want you guys to know that the reason why I set up here, the reason why at 9 o'clock at night when I've been up for God knows how many hours, and I go to all these meetings, is because of the kids. That's the only reason. It is not for that $200 I get every month, trust me. But they're the reason, and please never doubt that that's why I set up here. Okay, y'all have a great spring break. Rest and enjoy your family.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Rossi.
Yeah, it's this month. The open house at Manellison was incredible. Had a lot of parents out there. A lot of people showed up for that event. It was nice to see all the teachers and staff and the community coming together, sharing a meal, fellowship. I did take a lot of time reviewing the science and going over every single board. I don't know what it is about bath bombs, but there was a lot of experiments going on with that. But some of the works really stood out. The soil and water conservation were the ones that I really kind of gravitated toward. Runoff waste. You know, you don't think about it, but as Dr. Wells alluded to, all of our water does head downstream. And you don't think about, how pesticides can affect, and just throwing that plastic cup on the ground, or, just looking around your neighborhood and saying, some trash, and just picking that up could make a difference later on. And I was real pleased with the amount of effort that went into those projects. And I know that there was 10 of them that were picked that were supposed to go on. I don't know who ultimately won the championship there, but it's not that important. It's the fact that all those students participated in it, and they put their effort into it, and it showed in the boards. And I was very proud and impressed by our middle school students there at Manellison. What a great school. What a great school. And I think as a school board member, I was told that our main objective is budget, policy, and keeping Dr. Wells in order, to sum it up. And that's what I try to focus on. And I think everybody in this room is, number one focus is children and their learning. There was a comment made about the VSBA and they're the go-between. They're the middleman between Richmond and policy, and then it gets to us. And I look at it like this. Let's say you got a shopping list, okay, and you need to go to the store and buy these things. Do you go to Kroger or do you go to Walmart? You get the same chicken, you get the same coleslaw, you get the same barbecue sauce. One's a little cheaper. We're on a budget. And if that budget can buy me a couple education assistants and teachers, I'm going to put some teachers in front of those students. And it may not be much, but that little cut there and that little cut there in the budget, which is what I can control, and put students in front of teachers, is why I'm here. And if I can improve their learning, that's what I'm going to do. So I know people are very comfortable with everything that VSBA has to offer, but, you know, sometimes you got to go for the discount chicken sometimes. It's still chicken. We're still getting the same policies. And if we choose to change it, then we do, as a board. It's not going to be one board member. It's going to be the entire board making that decision. So just have faith in the people that you vote for, because we're all voted up here, and let's see where it goes. But policy is nothing more than what Richmond puts out, and we got to obey. And that's what we're going to do. Now, whether it comes from VSBA or somebody else, it's still the policy. And the same with the lawyer. You know, we have a school lawyer, and whether we want to pay that amount of money and we could buy a teacher with that, then maybe we need to buy a teacher. That's where I'm sitting. And I think that's about it. And happy Easter, everybody. Enjoy the holiday. It's my favorite one.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Ms. Justice.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So it has been very busy. The Central Virginia Gov School did not meet this month. We meet kind of quarterly. However, the personalized letters were mailed to all the applicants, giving them the division's selection decision, whether they were selected or on the waiting list, by March 28th. Students must accept their position by tomorrow, April 11th. So parents, if you're listening, go check that Bright student and say, did you apply? Did you get the letter? And are you accepting or not? Because we don't want any missed opportunities there. There will be a registration meeting for the new juniors and their families at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, May 7th, coming up. So those are things to be aware of with the Gov School. I did participate in the curriculum committee. It was a very enjoyable experience. We have amazing teachers who were thoroughly engaged in the process, sharing their opinions, experiences, concerns, and vibrant discussion. It was very fun to watch people who, there were the hand raisers that were really good at the hand raising, and then there were those that were very expressive and right interjecting there. So it was very fun and enlightening. It was a privilege to participate as an observer. I encourage the committee members to contact their school board members and share their opinion and experience. We want to hear from everyone. I read at Temperance in mid-March in the library. I got to read Rhoda's Rock Hunt to these great kids. It was a joy to be there with Mrs. Giles and get to go into the different classrooms. I happened to show up a day early on St. Patrick's Day. So I got to see all of that. That was really fun, and then I got to come back the next day. So Rhoda's Rock Hunt was all about this little girl going on this hike and going camping with her family and picking up these different rocks that were special to her, and then getting to the lake and wanting to pick up her bag, but she couldn't. And she had to face those choices, which ones are important, and we all have to face those choices. So it was close to my heart, as I love rocks. Tomorrow, I get to attend a professional development center seminar at the Victims of Communism Monument in DC. I will be reviewing a free curriculum, networking with other board members, and then getting to meet with Secretary McMahon and ask questions to better understand the changes affecting districts from the dismantling of U.S. Department of Education. I welcome any questions, things people want to hear or want to be said. I want to end on the trout release. My first spring in Amherst County schools, I got to go and discover Peddler River. I got to meet y'all up at, is it Long Mountain? Mm-hmm. The Long Mountain, yeah. Which I have since explored all the way up that road to the Parkway, which you can get up there, and then all the way down and around that dam, and avoiding trenches in the road where it's been carved out by the rain, and then seeing the campsites and fishing. It was so astounding to me. My father got to go the following year, and the science the kids learn, the opportunity to go in with that net with Dr. Wells in the cold, some even fall in. The teachers try not to, but to pull out those mats and then separate them out by the different categories and classes, and then put them in little egg crates with drops of water, and then they pull out their magnifying glasses. And those kids have learned more in that 2 hours than probably in a semester. It's applying everything they heard and then doing it in the hands-on environment. And so I feel like that's just an example, a picture of what Amherst attempts to do in every classroom. You know, whether it's the art teacher who is doing murals, and I'm talking way too long, so sorry. Anyways, so I'm just very thankful to be here in Amherst, and have a great evening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. CVCC, we had our meeting this month and for the STEM, and just want to report that all 4 slots are filled. So that's good news, and graduation coming up in May. And I just want to make a quick comment. Some of the folks that, the public that came and spoke here at the end, I just feel as if maybe they have just misunderstood my intent of what I was asking. You know, coming in tonight, I learned of the compliance that we had, and it did affect us with our textbooks. So I wanted to ask questions and to be smart. I don't want to spend, you know, a large amount of money just to turn around and a month later find out that we're being jerked from one end to the other. So why not ask some of those important questions up front, know what we're dealing with before we make a board decision? You know, one of the speakers said, you know, that, you know, if you have one race that they're more important than another, we just can't be. We can't have that. And that was what the speaker said. Well, exactly, that's what I was trying to say tonight as well. So if I didn't say that correctly, I apologize to anybody that heard that did not understand that well. I do value diversity. That's why when I heard that a lesson had been taken out for diversity, I disagreed with that. You know, I don't want us to do knee-jerk reactions. I think that we need to investigate where we are with the requirements that we have and to make the best decisions that we can in the use of our money. So I'm hoping that the public will understand that as a board member, I need to do my due diligence to ask good questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Ligon.
Okay, Laurel has not had a meeting since we saw each other, but they are having their prom tomorrow.
Oh, good.
So I'm working, but I might roll by there. I'm not gonna wear a gown, but I might roll by there. Yes, we did enjoy the foundation luncheon, and the culinary department was awesome there, but the information was good. I learned some things that I didn't know the culinary arts did, so we had a good time with that. We enjoyed going to Rustburg Middle. I worked with some of those people, and yes, we're envious, but they will see in May how envious we will be when we invite them to come up here. So we're just having a good time. I wanted to go to the community dinner, Mr. Rossi, but we had a track meet at the same time. So it was easier where I had to go. You know, I was at the track meet. But I did hear great things about that. So the community dinner, school is about to end, but has been great. It's been good fellowship with everybody. And I always think it is fun sometimes to disagree, Rev. Okay? It's not personal, but just the way I am. But to end that conversation, sometimes we get a little tight and we don't need to. But I'm not going to apologize because that's the way I think. But I do want to say that we also have the opportunity to and I haven't done it, to go one-on-one with Dr. Norman at any time. She's offered to us to come sit down, and she will go over all of those things that we need to know. And I think you've been some time. So, you know, I will tonight look at my closet one more time and see what's in there. So happy spring break. I'm not on spring break, but y'all are, so I've had mine. But I got 2 more weeks for exam time, and thank God for that. We are excited about CVCC's graduation for our early college students. Sometimes people don't know that, but we do have a lot of early college. And I can report back on a personal note that Talia has enjoyed her time in Georgia, and she has said many times that early college was a great thing for her. She was ready, and she's not struggling with her classes. So anybody that's considering it going forward, from a personal standpoint, me and my family say early college is great. So happy Easter to everybody. Good.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Childress.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'm happy to report that I am also on spring break next week. So I will be enjoying some much-needed time off. I did just want to kind of recap a little bit about our budget process because it doesn't appear that everybody really kind of heard a lot of what our budget process was like and the things that we were advocating for in our budget. But as a board, we did all push to have salary increases for our teachers. In fact, we were asking for a 4% increase for our teachers. We were asking to fix some of the tiers for our teachers. We were asking for special increases for our classified staff. And so when we talk about being short 1.2 million, that is part of where that came in, is we were trying to make those adjustments that as a school division we feel like we need to make to get our teachers closer to where they need to be. And then also in that proposal, we had said we want to have instructional assistants in every kindergarten classroom. In this particular budget, we did get approved 6 additional IAs, 1 for each elementary school. I don't think that's enough. It doesn't go far enough, but it's a good start. It's 6 more than we had. And I think it goes to show that our focus as a board is on instruction, where it certainly needs to be. And so I'm proud to be a part of that and to start helping to move the needle forward with that piece of it. It's no surprise some of the concerns that we heard tonight mentioned about teachers' frustrations with data, PLC, planning times. And the other thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of our teachers in planning times have to fill in for other teachers, right? And maybe some of our board members don't understand that because of the lack of subs and things that are going on in our buildings, a teacher who has a planning period, that's how they fill in for teachers that they don't have a sub for. Throughout the day, teachers give up their planning period to go fill in for that period. And that happens more often than I think we would like it to happen. And so we certainly want to be respectful of that. And, we talk about motivation for our teachers. That's where the whole thing came up at the last board meeting. And I still would like for us as a board, as administration, to figure out how we can better motivate our teachers. We talk about pay. I'm for pay. I've proven that multiple times. I've brought it up here in our meetings. But what else? How else can we do it, right? And I'd love to hear from our public on what we can do as a school board, as administration. I'd love to hear from teachers. We talk about our teachers, and I've heard it directly from teachers, unfortunately, about the distrust as far as them coming to speak to the board. So I would publicly like to say I would love for teachers to be able to come and talk with us directly in the meetings, share their thoughts without any fear of any comments or lashback to them, because it's an important part of the process for us as a board to be able to hear those directly and for us to be able to help make decisions to make it better. Beyond that, I do want to say if you missed the art show, you missed a great opportunity to see the work of our children. It's phenomenal. And to have it all displayed so professional, it's a great opportunity. And then I also got to attend the Amherst Middle School's Sound of Music Junior play, and that was phenomenal. I enjoyed it so much that I literally had to go home and watch the actual movie because I wanted to compare. And they did a great job. The students, they did all of from what I understand, they did all the work themselves. They did the set design, built the set, and it was. And I'm not one to really go and sit for that type of stuff very often, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I would encourage them to continue to do that and to do it more often. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. So I would like to, reiterate a little bit what Mr. Childress said, talking about the budget. We would be remiss if we didn't say that we were We were aggressive when we went to the county with the numbers that we were looking for. Now, if I'm not mistaken, a couple years ago, we got turned down for a grant that we put in because our county was too fiscally responsible, I believe, at that time. So our county was managing their funds appropriately, which got us in trouble, and we couldn't get some of the funding that we really hoped to have gotten from the state. It's kind of backwards if you ask me, but we were aggressive with the numbers. If the money is not there, the money is not there, then we've got to get creative in how we can make still our priority things work. And I think we did a pretty good job of sticking with our priority and moving things around as we could. So anywhere we could cut a little bit here or there, we did. Anything we could was true and near and dear to our hearts, we kept where we could. Off that box now. I look at the events that are coming up. I mean, I just blew my wife's calendar up, just loading things up tonight, just putting stuff on there. Good luck, seniors, keeping up with all this. This is an exciting time for you guys. I'm going to try to make it to as many of them as I can. I can guarantee I won't make it to all of them. But I look at all those events. I'm coming to the play tomorrow night, seeing, the kids go out there and do the plays, do the sports, do all the activities, show off the things that they've accomplished. We got Day of Giving coming up. All these things, the trout release, and several people have already, expressed how important that is. We are creating great citizens. As they leave Amherst County, they will not be students any longer. They will be citizens of Amherst County. And I think we are going through here, all these little things are instilling the values that we see as a community into our students and are reinforcing that on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's what we're here for. Teach them how to be successful, whether it's go to college, whether it's do CTE, whether it's just go straight out and get a job, whatever. We are teaching them how to be successful, valuable citizens in our community. Some will stay here, some will go on other places, and hopefully those that go on other places, people will be able to say, we know you came from Amherst County. And I hope they look at it and go, that's a great thing. So the last thing I do want to do is congratulate Ms. Ligon. Ms. Ligon, I can't count the number of awards I've heard you getting over the number of years, but you deserve them all. So thank you for all that you've done for Amherst County Schools.
I don't be boasting,
No, well, let us boast for you.
I'm thankful.
Let us boast for you. So with that, you guys, I'm what's between you and spring break. So I am going to call it here. You guys have a great spring break. We will see you next month.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.